that that story is real for a second, okay? Like your kid's like, oh, I would want to give the homeless people homes, and you're like, ha 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 ha. No, you're a Republican now, bitch. Fucking dumb baby, dumb bitch ass baby. 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 You wanted to help those who are marginalized? Fuck you, dude. I need you to be a fucking paleo conservative right now. Fuck you. Fucking own. Guess what I fucking own? My dumbass daughter who's 6 years old, dude. Stupid fucking baby. You dumb bitch ass baby. Fucking dumb baby, dumb bitch ass baby. Fucking dumb baby, dumb bitch ass baby. Fucking dumb baby, dumb bitch ass baby. I'll kick you in the fucking baby face. I almost got, you know, child labor going too. This is fucking tight. Oh, fucking own. Guess what I fucking own? My dumbass daughter who's 6 years old, dude. Stupid fucking baby. You dumb bitch ass baby. Fucking dumb baby, dumb bitch ass baby. Fucking dumb baby, dumb bitch ass baby. Fucking dumb baby, dumb bitch ass baby. I'll kick you in the fucking baby face. Fuck the homeless. What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, fantastic afternoon, fantastic pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Donald Trump, and this is the Trump Show. Trump 2024, Trump 2020, Trump 2028. You already know what it is, folks. That's right, folks. We are live, we're alive, and believe it, it is a spooky season today. This is the spookiest of all spooky seasons. Believe me when I say this, folks, perhaps the spookiest of all time. This is the part of the broadcast where I tell you about my personal news in between the time period where that radical Marxist, communist, socialist, fascist, Antifa, anti-Christian, anti-capitalist, anti-American HasanAbi biker pressed the stop streaming button and pressed the start streaming button. That's right, believe it. He does press those buttons. Lots of communists all around, folks, from Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi all the way to Mamdabi. That's what's really spooky about this country that's hot. Very spooky from the standpoint of spook and stories. Boo! You see, I got you scared. Socialism. And that's what's scary. From the standpoint of water, from the standpoint of stories, and from the standpoint of heat, this is the hottest country. And now it's become one of the spookiest. That's right. Zora Mamdani, I got you again. I know, don't be afraid. I got you. But the AI-backed Palantir data centers will save us, folks. We are live. We'll do it, and we're alive. But let me tell you, HasanAbi biker, what he's done since the time period where he pressed the stop streaming button and start streaming button. So help him. So help him God. I don't know what I'm saying. All right. Anyway, what's up, folks? It's spooky season, and I'm not a white lady that really gets invested in stuff like this, but you know, shouts out to my team that spends a good deal of time trying to make this stuff more fun for you, to the best of their ability, of course. But yes, that is a Trumpkin. That is literally a Trumpkin. That's a Trump pumpkin. And that's what they were working on. Doors open. Okay, whatever. But that's what they were. Check out Peculiar Pumpkin Portraits. Show them love for their work. Yeah. No trigger warning. No trigger warning for the Trumpkin. He's there, and you better believe it. You better recognize he's there, baby. Anyway, they may have done too good of a job. I know, it's so crazy. It doesn't even look like a pumpkin, honestly. But yeah, the queen has turned into a skeleton, as you can probably tell. Anyway, that's what the team was working on, you know, putting this together for you guys who love spooky season and all that good stuff. And I instead was going to sleep last night. I was watching the Spy Family movie, and then I passed out, and then I woke up. I played some basketball, and that's it. That's pretty much it. Kaya had a fun time at the park as always. Spy Family, not Spy Kids. Spy Family is an anime of a master spy in like the Cold War period in Germany. A West German spy living in East Germany, basically like the East Germany equivalent. Does your big ass have a costume for this year? Not really, but we can figure it out. I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Are you a Tim Robinson enjoyer? Chair Company been killing me? No, I don't really watch a lot of Tim Robinson. But yeah, folks, personal news wise, that's pretty much it. No, it wasn't Cutie who helped me decorate. I got my own folks. I got my own people. You know, we're doing stuff. You could low-key be Frankenstein's monster. Yo, Forger makes me go, I love the kind of woman who will actually just kill me. But yeah, that's where we're at, personal news wise. Stavi and John Marco talked about you. I think I saw a clip on Twitter. It was pretty cool. In any case, folks, it's Tuesday. It's Newsday, Tuesday. Hello, lads. It's Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. We're out here. You know what it is. You know what's going on. Right. It is what it is, lads. The queen is fucking dead. Lizzie's in a box, yeah. Lizzie's in a fucking box, yeah. And it's Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. And that's all I got as far as personal news goes. It's 79 degrees and sunny. It was a little bit chilly in it. Bit peckish. I'm a bit peckish. I don't even know if peckish means cold. I think peckish means you're hungry, right? Or whatever. It doesn't matter. But can you talk about Jamaica? Yes, I will be. It's on the title. Obviously, we're going to be talking about all of that. Yes, there's a hurricane that is about to make nippy. It's a bit nippy. Yeah, I'm a bit nippy. It's a bit cold. It's a bit nippy in it. West and East is opposite in Spy Family. They have marks in their paper currency. But yeah. No, I'm saying it's not nippy right now. It was in the morning though. It was like sub 60 in LA is cold. It's officially brick. Yeah, we're going to talk about Jamaica. We're going to talk about the Zohran Mamdani campaign and a lot more. But yeah, let's get right into it. There's so much to cover as always. There's so much happening in the world. And once again, I have found myself saying the oldest thing that I repeat over and over again after a long and extended period of doing news only content. I find myself thinking, oh man, I really got to dial back this news content and do some more fun shit, whether it be you know, spooky season related stuff, scary gaming, or whether it be watching more like fun culture related things as opposed to just like directly just mainlining politics as aggressively as I do. And considering the next month I'm going to China, where there are going to be a fuck ton of IRL streams that we're going to be doing all over China. Yeah, all over China. That you know, I have to.
This is what the White House.
I have to lean into some more shit too. Can you help me understand how collabing with FaZe is helping marginalized community? Lacey and Ron have caused their fanboys to target a queer woman who said nothing wrong after the cutie stream. I don't know what you're talking about, but if you think that I'm just getting stun locked so early on, that has nothing to do with Hasan. I mean, I guess it does kind of have something to do with me because I collab with them as well from time to time, but I don't think there's an issue with that at all, and I think it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I think it's a very good thing, as a matter of fact. It's a really, really good thing because there are right-wing forces who are much more receptive and much more open-minded and totally on board and much more quote-unquote forgiving. And then there's like this broad leftist movement on the internet that isn't. And those guys who are apolitical, like a lot of people ask me all the time, Hasan, how do you get to like, how is there a Joe Rogan of the left? How do we build a Joe Rogan of the left? And like, obviously, it's not a podcastable problem, right? It's not like a podcast solution to a problem, but a big part of the reason why there are so many like Joe Rogan style apolitical content creators who find themselves at the precipice of like right-wing stuff is because they just already have right-wing values, like some right-wing values, and we don't have any tendency to, we on the left are very bad at just like trying to meld not only those people but like their fan bases firmly and committed into a left-wing movement at all, whether it be the Democratic Party in general or anything like any sort of leftist values, because we just like are somewhat off-putting. And if your job is to, hi man, can you talk about the genocide happening in Sudan financed by the UAE? Yes, I will cover it a little bit further today as well, but yesterday we did some deeper dives. Dude, just don't speak on it. If you don't know what she said, her take, just don't. No, I don't care about what Cutie said or what her take is. I'm just reiterating what my position is in general. Because someone was talking about like collabing with FaZe or whatever. I think it's just, I've been thinking about it quite a bit. I've been thinking about it quite a fucking bit. And yeah, they're just trying to clip you, man. I mean, okay. What are you gonna do? I'm Mr. Clip. Have you seen Begonia? No. Begonia. No drama. Please stop reading people in chat who are baiting you to talk about this. Anyway, there's a lot going on. We're gonna there's a lot going on, and we're gonna talk about all of that and more. People just don't understand what Cutie was saying. That's partially on her, but she was just misinterpreted a lot to have a meaning she never meant. I know. These people care more about who Cootie does streams with than Misgive, lol. Yeah. The problem, the other thing that I always see is people constantly being like, oh, this is Hasan's fan base that is like attacking Cutie Cinderella. And I find that so funny because they just literally, I think a lot of people unironically think that I'm the Pope of the left or something. Like I'm the Pope of liberalism. I'm the Pope of the left. They've been brain broken into thinking that there is no like difference in opinion on the left at all. And they don't realize that like I have spent probably the better part of the last decade of my advocacy also trying to rein in some of the less tolerant approach to intolerance on the left in an effort to try to build bridges and change people's minds. And I think I've done a fairly decent job of being able to do that, which is part of the reason why this community has grown. Now, are there fucking growing pains where there are instances where people from marginalized backgrounds feel like they're under attack in this community, as opposed to the rest of the internet? Obviously, this is a much safer space, but like that still happens, and there's growing pains, and you work through it, right? And you take accountability, as I did. But having said that, it's still important to just not treat every single person. It's important to not treat every single person as like it's important to not treat every single person as like a immediate villain or some shit. Yeah, good, changing people's minds, now promoting imperialism. What is that? What do you mean? It's a marathon, not a sprint when it comes to helping people change. Yes. Cutie, apologize. Check Ravad if you want more info. Anybody else continue to bring it up is just trying to continue stirring the pot. FaZe fucks with the song. We fuck with FaZe. That's all we need to cover. Yeah, I mean, I've been a FaZer upper back when FaZe was even more problematic than it is now. It's just ironic because now it's like become less problematic in general. But yeah, if this is your main gripe, I do not deal with racist, homophobic assholes, etc. I do not allow them in my houses, and I know that I would toss them out and their ass. She literally said that Palestine was Hasan's Taylor Swift. Dude, again, you cannot treat, like, you have to look at all of the information that someone is presenting. Okay, you can't treat like mishaps and slights and microaggressions as the most as a clear-cut signal that someone is like a reactionary racist or whatever. Okay, people need to dial it back. I'm getting TikToks that you quit. What is even going on, dude? I'm not kidding. I think the Larry Elder TikTok purchase has it combined with like the Twitter anti-Zoran Islamophobia brigade is melting what remains of the fractional leftist movement. They are so unserious in general. It sucks. you just have to put your head down, be normal, and just keep pushing. Nothing you can do about it. Let the fucking background noise be background noise. Okay? Did I say Larry Elder? I meant Larry Ellison. Jesus Christ. Larry Elder. Anyway, it's just people's attention span is the clip. Some people don't even watch the clip, just read the title. I know. People are getting angry at the wrong people. Like, people are getting angry at the wrong people. I always try to stress the importance of like moving people that are your closest allies further into the left, and then also simultaneously moving people. Like, my goal always has been to get liberals to become leftists. And my goal has always been to get Republicans to become liberals and then become leftists, right? So like, it takes a long ass fucking time. And in the process, you have to be fucking open-minded. It's just, it sucks. You even sometimes have to eat it, right? And it's just, I think once again, a lot of this still stems from like the powerlessness that a lot of people feel in the face of unshakable, non-changing systemic factors. So they just like focus on who they can, focus on areas where they can actually make like marginal improvements by making a big fuss. And it's always just like the most accessible people. Your shirt, King, where did it come from? I don't know. It was in my P.O. box. In any case, you spelled hurricane wrong in your title, King. I know. I couldn't. I don't think I had enough letters remaining. Oh, no, I did. Never mind. I was trying to work within the letter restrictions. And no, I'm not going to substitute the red alerts. They have to stay there. The strobe lights stay on during sex. Where was I? Oh, let's blast it. I think you're viewed as a safe space for these groups to watch. They just want to see the change more active and not just, I'm gonna hang out with these guys and hopefully they change over time passively. What? Okay, well, it's ironic because like people are already, when they come to this community, they're already taking advantage of that. Like, there's a reason why this is like a very sizable, very large community that is a much safer space online than anywhere else. And the reason for that is because I have done this. Like, this is my method and it's worked. There are wonderful allies all around you that didn't used to feel the way that they do now. And so I'm just going to keep doing that as opposed to the same exact criticism that I've heard a million times over from people. And if you don't like it, then I understand. Maybe it's not for you, you know? Having said that, you just, like, all I ask for is charitability, not the idea that like everything I'm doing is for some sort of fake, cynical purpose, but instead there is a broader vision here, you know? That's how shit works in the real world. You slowly expose people to new ideas and eventually they come to the center. Yeah. Anyway, where was I? I mean, I think like I always use Jason as a great example of this. Like, he is such a, like, these guys have every opportunity to be like fucking far right shitheads and they're not, you know? They would make probably the same amount of money, if not more. Timing me out for saying rad libs are stupid is crazy work at mods. Okay, calm down. Stop complaining about getting timed out. I need that shirt now. Jason is also someone who's learned a lot from you. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no, like, there are failures throughout my career. I've had very high profile failures. Chat calling Jason a right-wing shithead is insane. No one is calling Jason in this community a right-wing shithead. What are you talking about? We literally have we have an emote dedicated to Jason. The fuck do you mean? No one is saying that or doing that. As a matter of fact, these are people I collab with and I will continue to collaborate with. And ain't nobody can tell me otherwise. And if anyone has an issue about that, they can suck me from the back. Okay. That's always been my take. And I have always demonstrated patience, and that has led to some very high profile fuck ups and failures. Aiden Ross is one of the best examples of that, right? Like, I tried so fucking hard with Aiden. I tried my very best to make sure that he did not like become a right-wing shithead, but the money was too good. And the feelings were too, you know, he just felt too hot about eating Andrew Tate's ass. Like, he just wanted to do that. It's always a certain group of people that exaggerate the accusations lobbied against people they relate to. Hasan is racist, Cuties fascist. Somehow none of the actual criticism but made extreme so it can be discredited immediately. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be honest with you. it's just, the clip culture makes it so fucking hard. It just makes it so hard to have like a normal conversation. The parasocial attitudes make it so fucking hard to have a normal and honest conversation about like anything that's even ostensibly remotely political. I still do it regardless, but like you see it from the outside. You see how much I get fucking, you see how much dick I have to eat nonstop. Like it's just, it is what it is. And I think like the biggest weakness on the left overall, especially in this environment, there's a structural issue here, but the biggest weakness on the left in general is from the like how malleable we are as a unit, as a broader movement. We are so easily tricked by the right. They know that we have this like endless desire to ensure that we are doing our very best. And I think the right uses that against us all the fucking time. They just literally will just like point to something. They'll be like, this person is racist and that person is a fascist, or this person is ableist or whatever. And I think like there are people, I hate to say it, who see that and get immediately invested in this campaign. This is your least materialist take. True. You label all criticism of you as disingenuous. I haven't seen a single time otherwise. Like everything against you is uncharitable or bad faith, which most of it is. Yeah, because a lot of it is. But if you recall, this past week we had a long conversation about me taking account. Oh my God, I just realized the Trump cam is on. This past week, we had a long and convoluted conversation about how HasanAbi Piker took accountability and ownership over the way he said black people, and how people saw it from the outside, and how it is hard. It's hard for HasanAbi Piker to go through unwarranted criticism and real criticism, valid criticism. He took accountability and he realized he shouldn't be attacking people so aggressively, because many people act in the same way. And you, if you're a black or brown follower of Hasan, you know Hasan's background. You know how long he's talked about these issues. He himself is also Mohammedan. That's why I'm deporting him. I'm gonna deport him. He's gone. He's Antifa. But he took accountability over the way he behaves, because his fans behave in the same way, and then sometimes people can't make sense of what's valid criticism and what's not. What's valid criticism and what's actually invalid, not constructive criticism. It's hard. It's hard, folks. This is the dumbest I've ever behaved. I apologize. It was so stupid. Anyway, that Trump pumpkin is so stupid. Okay, let's blast out. Hurricane in Jamaica, Cuomo catching up to Zoran, snap cuts incoming November 1st, DNC pack repeats old takes, Trumpinasia, more boat murder, spooky season, get in now. It's so funny because like this is always been like what I'm talking about right now. Some people are like, oh, why are you like talking about Cutie Cinderella? I'm not even talking about Cutie Cinderella. I'm just talking about my opinion in general. Like this is something that I have advocated for years, and I will continue to advocate for years. You know, I will always advocate for it. I've seen failures. I've had significant, I want to say lapses of judgment, but like I've had big failures in that regard, right? In terms of trying to help someone not be a right-wing shithead. And then they still become like a major right-wing shithead. I always feel like an outsider as a black autistic trans leftist that doesn't assume every single person that has a bad moment is a bigot without extra info, strangely enough. I learned that from K-pop Twitter, not here. Yeah. I remembered when you were watching WWE and one of the commentators said Muhammad in a way that sounded super racist, and I realized that's probably what black peeps hear when you say that. Yeah. Also, I already talked to FD Signifier. I'm actually going to become a Kamala Truther style person. If this Zoran stuff doesn't work, I'm done. I'm gonna say Muslims are tired. Like I'm over it. I'm done. Okay. I'm so done. It's fucking like I saw Zoran's league get cut in half. I saw Zoran's league get chopped in half this past week after an unrelenting amount of this guy's a fucking terrorist. And if that is what activated the 55 plus year olds to be like, oh, that's right, he is a terrorist. I forgot. I was, you know, he was a smiling figure, but maybe what he was smiling about was a 9/11. Like if that's what's going on in New York, what is this? You see this TikTok that has the CIA leftist infighting wheel, reading books harms the movement. What is this?
CIA agents who are watching my videos, I've just invented something amazing that will be great for destabilizing leftist movements. Check it out. It is the discourse generator. We've got Hasan literally kills people.
Wait, what? Why? No! Why am I on the wheel? No! Oh, God. I have realized that for hella people, they literally think like I am Marx, Engels, Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, Mao. I'm all of it combined. Like people on the outside. I'm not even talking about leftists. Like for right wingers, I am everything that is the left. Like people will unironically attribute people's attitudes about Gaza to me as a negative. Of course, these are people who are pro-Israel. They're like, oh, it's because of Hasan's radical, Marxist terrorism support that has caused people. It's like, dude, you're so dumb if you think that. I'm not an inconsequential figure, but that doesn't mean that like I am the mover and shaker. People think I'm like fucking the Pope of socialism or some shit. It's so fucking dumb. It's also the end of the month. Time to jump on the fuck Hasan train and make rant. Do you see Stavros flame you on Gianmarco's pod? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. We'll start there. There is a reason why Joe Rogan can be Joe Rogan, and there will never be a Joe Rogan to the left. There are structural hurdles, okay? Like an actual socialist version of Joe Rogan is never going to exist. There are obviously structural hurdles placed against like those who advocate for the interests of the people over the interests of profits, right? There's a fuck ton of money that will always be spent to destroy people like that. That's number one. Number two, the left broadly is very, very fucking very used to just like cooking everybody. They hate the left more than anybody else. When you're on the left, liberals hate you. The right hates you. The far right wants to kill you, right? But then you also have other leftists who have like marginal delineations in their ideological framework from you that make it the largest, most consequential difference of all time. So it's not easy. It's not great, but we don't do it. We don't do it for the motion. I don't do it. So the groups that I talk about, the marginalized groups that I talk about love me and say, oh, Hasan, thank you so much. You are the king of all black folk. Like, thank you for being the white guy that defends black people. Like, that's not the reason why I do it. I do it because it's right. Okay. I see something that's wrong and I call it out. It is what it is.
Reading books harms the movement. Starbucks is actually based. Protesting literally kills people. Reading books is cultural appropriation. So anyway, hit me up. You know where to send the...
This is fire. What a banger, dude. What a banger. You mean to tell me you're not spicy white T'Challa? Yeah. True arbiter of see something, say something law. I mean, straight up. Did you see Slushy Noobs? Did you dirty Lamount? No, I did not see it. But the Hamza beef is back on, dude. I'm coming after that motherfucker. No, I don't care, dude. I mean, it's a meme. It is what it is. I thought you were Turkish Amalgam X. Yeah, definitely. I'm all of it. That's why I think you getting an official autism diagnosis will help act as a shield for so many superficial criticism from a lot of easily manipulated libs and leftists. Wait, what? Why? You can't. It doesn't work that way, man. People don't interpret things that way. They're not going to see that and be like, oh, he's autistic, so it's fine. Like, no. Brother, one of the things that people I've seen people do against me now is like, oh, he doesn't listen to music. He's a psychopath because he doesn't listen to music. It's like, damn, brother, what are we doing at this point? Like, I don't know if it's because I'm autistic that I don't listen to music or not, but like, can a boy have some preferences? Like, that's insane. I've heard motherfuckers online be like, yo, Hasan doesn't listen to music. Obviously, he's a psychopath. He's like a secret murderer. It's like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, sure, yeah, I know I'm weird. What do you want me to do? Fucking hide the truth about how I behave? Like, anyway, let's just keep it pushing. There's definitely something missing if you don't like music. I like music. Okay? I like music. I just don't listen to a lot of music because I don't have any fucking time to listen to music. I spend most of my time, every waking moment, listening to the news. Even when I'm, I guess I listen to some music when I'm working out. But, well, you don't want to hit the all leftists are autistic and all criticism is ableist line. Wait, what? I'm not doing that. I don't even do the fucking Islamophobia shit, even after eating it over and over again for like the past 2 years. Like, only in the last couple of weeks where I've been like, hey guys, notice how this is happening to not just me, but another much more popular Muslim socialist candidate who's been able to build this like broad working class coalition. And now they're just unjustifiably tarnishing his reputation by consistently claiming that he is a fucking Islamic style terrorist or whatever. It's like, you know, and even then people yell at me over it where they go, oh, that's not the case. We're not being racist. You deserve it because you are that. Anyway, we're blasting off, ladies and gentlemen. We are blasting off. I like the discourse generator. Stop eating the hate. It stalls your game, bro. I agree. Do you think the cabinet will continue to hide Trump's deterioration? Yes. Every American president has done that. Like every American president that has experienced significant deterioration of their mental faculties has been successfully hidden from the public. I mean, Ronald Reagan is a great example of this. Like he straight up had Alzheimer's in his by the end of his second term. Donald Trump is going through it right now with his like fucking. I mean, you can kind of see it. Obviously, Joe Biden is a very famous example of this as well. Joe Biden was not even hidden from the public eye, which I guess we can kind of talk about with the Karine Jean-Pierre, Isaac Chodener stuff that came out. Makes this even more interesting because like she is a fedayeen for Joe Brandon. Crazy that Lula is 80, older than Trump. Yeah, but he got prison jacked. So are we not going to talk about the escalation in Gaza? Dude, what leads you to believe that that's not going to happen? Like, please, what is this? Hasan doesn't talk about the final version. The final version of this discourse cycle is Hasan doesn't talk about Gaza. When we get there, it's over. You know what I mean? We have developed a full circle. I can't believe you completely gave up on politics. Yeah, I did. We're gonna do that in a second. First, let's watch this.
Because you're the only one that I felt like I could get good advice from on this very particular topic.
Sure.
Stavros was one I wrote because I did Hasan Piker's show, and there was all the like dog electric collar things. And I'm like looking on the internet, I'm like, the internet's crazy. But is this a thing? Should I be worried? And you had to understand Twitch, you had to understand Hasan, you had to understand the internet, you had to understand comedy.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, there's so few people that I know.
Yeah.
And I just met Stavros 3 weeks ago. And it's like, well, here's it. But it was funny in that I'm taking in all these things from the internet, people saying Hasan Piker abuses his dog.
Yeah, well.
And then the second I walked in there, into his home, and like the dog comes up and runs to me, I'm like, this is crazy. No, there's no way. I mean, this is insane.
You know, that's funny because I didn't even think about the context because of you not really knowing that world. But like, when in doubt, it's just guys mad at Hasan. Yeah, he is the biggest lightning rod because like between I mean, literally, they act towards Hasan the way they think he acts to his dog, where it's like he's like. You have far left politics, which immediately kind of, you know, people attack you for whatever. But then he's just a piece of ass. And what most of the, and he's rich, and what most of the like, he's like the perfect guy in a lab. He's like a hot Muslim who fucking like talks about left politics and got rich off their platform for video games. But he talks about, you know, how Trump is bad on it. And it's like, of course, it's like you invented a guy for the stereotypical like groiper, incel, you know, whatever fan to be mad at. Having said that, he is a piece of shit. He's a Turkish dog as far as I'm concerned, and I don't want to. Do not clip me. Whatever you do not clip me giving him compliments. Yeah, that is my one thing I would like.
Yeah, too late. Too late, big dog. We know the truth now. You fucked up.
Like, yeah, I don't want to be seen on the record as supporting Hasan too much because I also hate him for those exact reasons. Yeah. And I am looking forward to his inevitable downfall when the Trump-controlled media does take his Twitch account away. Yes, that'll be the one silver lining. When we lose freedom of the press, Hasan will have to go back
while
to
he's on stream.
Yeah.
The chat will be like,
bro, this is why I love. Low-key, this is part of the reason why I love my New York friends, even ones that are not like expressly political. Like Stavros is a comedian, right? Obviously, he has a political worldview. You know it. It comes out in his comedy every now and then. But he's just like, he is what you would bracket off as like an apolitical person, right? Like the way that his content works. And yet, like, he has a decent working understanding of how this environment works and how people react to certain things. Like, he has a much... maybe it's from like years and years of doing this, because like you can't be a fucking successful comic by just simply unfolding on the scene. Like Stavros for years did small rooms and had to test out his material in front of real fucking crowds. And I feel like that obviously plays a role in your understanding of the world. But this is why I always say like New York is so much better for me in general, because like most people in Los Angeles, I wouldn't say they're fake. That's the easiest thing to say. Oh, they're fake. Like, no, it's not. They're just scared, okay? They don't know enough about politics. They don't want to understand it. And they are generally kind people that have, like, decent politics, but they're so fucking terrified of having a blemish on their record. And I think right-wingers use that against people like myself by trying to make me as toxic as possible in the eyes of all of these like apolitical content creators by just like harassing them endlessly and doing the same shit that they do to me to other people to punish them until they just come out and become like anti-Hasan writers. It's nutty. This LA shit is bullshit. Y'all don't even have real weather. When you're in New York, you get the real shit. Okay, calm down. New Yorkers, even if they're not political, have an elite bullshit meter. That's the difference. They also just literally don't give a fuck what people outside of New York think. Yeah. Why are they afraid about the blemish? What do you mean? If your entire output is designed around being a person that everybody likes and you can get along with every single person, then you never touch politics. Do you think it's an accident? Do you think all of these content creators in LA are oblivious to ICE raids that are going on, to Donald Trump, to all this shit? You think they just like live in ivory towers where they're completely oblivious? No, they're not. They know what the fuck's going on. But also, in the words of Michael Jordan, Republicans buy sneakers too, okay? That's it. Streaming for the most part is a popularity contest. And that's precisely the reason why a lot of people who don't want to fucking, don't want to come out and be seen as like offensive or be seen as like a nuisance will be extra careful. But that's low-key part of the reason why I do have some respect. Like I do hold a special place in my heart for the FaZe boys, partially because I'm a dude bro myself, as you guys know. And also because like they do this shit all the fucking time. Look.
If you're not standing with fucking FaZe, nigga, because we deadass go out our way to do content. We do content with ourselves. We do content with...
And it's also ironic because like FaZe, even in their worst moments, like even in the old FaZe, right? When people would say like, oh, they're misogynistic, they're fucking terrible or whatever. FaZe has always been one of the most diverse orgs out there. Like, and I mean capital D diverse, like liberal Democratic Party style diverse, okay? They always have been. One of the OGs of FaZe is FaZe Apex. He is straight up Palestinian. He was my connection to Norm Finkelstein. I've talked about this before, okay? It's just, you have to remember, has there ever been a woman FaZe member? Oh God, don't even get me started. No, there is, so now you want to lean on Impulse? No, I'm not. But the people that yell at them are unironically the ones that also are tuned into this shit. The thing is, most of them are straight. They're straight guys, okay? That's it. But overall, they are I would say, a lot more open about like even fucking saying Adapt, not Apex. You think FaZe Adapt is the reason why FaZe Adapt is not Palestinian, brother. What are you talking about? He's white. He's white. He is fundraising for Gaza. FaZe Apex is Palestinian. Kason is Iranian. Anyway, whatever. The point I was making is that like they do stand on some of this stuff, and I respect it. It's good at a time when a lot of other people don't. You know,
other people, we show love to everybody. Not one community will ever feel left out ever, bro. We show love to every single community. Free Palestine. Fuck cancer. Fuck ICE, nigga. Fuck, it's the same shit we've been saying this shit the entire time, bro. We don't have to sit here and openly be on some, yo, we love these people, we love these people. We have never shown no hate to any group, ever. Ever. It's all love. So anybody coming out their mouth, nigga, go get your mans that city.
So performative. Well, okay. Dude, listen. They don't have to do this at all. They don't have to say fuck ICE, free Palestine at all. They have been raising mad money for cancer and cancer charities, and Adept is obviously raising money for Gaza. They do also have, you know, a lot of fucking problematic jokes and shit like that they engage with, and that's precisely the reason why a lot of people from the outside look at that and go, "Oh, these guys are fucking awful," and that's it. But it's they say fuck ICE, but they voted for Trump. Wait, what? No, I don't think they. I don't know where you got that from. I think you're thinking of like possibly maybe Lacey, but they did not. I think most of them probably didn't vote.
You're sexually assaulting people, nigga. Fuck you talk about, nigga. And talk about it, nigga. Fuck you talk about. Fuck. Oh my God. If you're not.
People always pearl clutch when they hear cuss words or they hear fuck and think these aren't good boys at all. No, it's not that. No, it's not that. Their audience is very young. Okay. Their audience is very young. It's all like, I'm talking 12-year-old boys. Okay. I'd rather have the 12-year-old boys watch like these guys and Jason and all of them than watch fucking Aiden Ross and Asmongold. Okay. If we're looking at it specifically from this like incredibly narrow male role model attitude, okay, they got like the 12 to 25-year-old audience locked down, and for that audience, like, they are, first of all, they don't give a fuck. Okay, they do not even remotely care about like being problematic. As a matter of fact, it's like probably much easier for them to do like jokes of that sort or whatever. But the bar is in hell is my point. The bar is in fucking hell. And bro, there ain't no 12-year-old on Twitch. These guys aren't just on Twitch. You're forgetting. They're also on TikTok. Hasan, I saw you at the rally. Was so nervous. Sorry for interrupting your food purchase, and thanks for the merch compliment. But I watch you every day. It's much needed relief considering I work in New York real estate and I'm surrounded by all the grossest behavior you can imagine. You keep me positive, well informed, and feeling up for the fight every day. Thank you. You got it. Keep up the good fight. Yeah. No, Hasan, you should isolate them from everyone and talk shit about everything they do. That'll make the left seem fun and something more than petty grievances. Yeah. It's just like, what you can't say about Adapt is that he's faked the trick shot. I would never say that. He's never done that. You can say anything you want about him, but you can't say that. Okay? This is the salt strat. I know. Don't even get me started. I don't want to even get into that. But yes, it is a little bit like salting. Petty grievances, yet as homophobic jokes. Please be for fucking real, y'all. PMO. My point is, they just don't, like, they see all of this as woke noise, right? Even if the grievances are valid, you have to understand, the more we push people like this away, the more they're just going to find themselves, in the grand scheme of things, the more we push people like that away, the more they see this as like, oh, the liberals are so fucking annoying, and you know, maybe we're right wing. And then 10 years down the line, we turn around and we go, what happened? Why is the internet so right wing? Like, it's more than that, right? It's obviously structural hurdles. It's obviously reflective of the material conditions. It's obviously all of that stuff as well. Your defense of current phase just delegitimizes your work. No, because this is not a defensive phase. This is just me saying how we look, how me and my community and how the broader left looks to other people online. We look like we're fucking constantly attacking everybody at a time when there's like at a time when there is like much larger, much more consequential issues out there. SJW's fucked up politics online for the last 10 years. It's not just that. It's that this is something that I've talked about so much. Like, we look like fucking hall monitors. We look like HR people. Okay, that's it. And I'm never going to be able to work against this, especially because people can't parse through valid grievances and blemishes that people have in their track record that they highlight and turn into like a massively consequential difference in opinion. Okay, like, even when I'm talking about this, you say, so just never push them back and accept bigotry. There's a big gap between don't push back against bigotry and ostracize them. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't push back on bigotry. When have I not pushed back on bigotry? If I can't even make this point, if I can't even make this fucking point without everybody literally in my own community fucking hammering this shit down my throat, then if I can't even get charitability on this, then we got a big ass problem. That's my point. It's because you aren't making a good point. Is your point that we should seek to explain to people why they shouldn't be offensive, or what is the argument? That we should be okay with people being more right-wing if they aren't political? No, it's the first thing. Like, the way I do this in my real normie experiences, if I see someone around me say something bigoted, right? And this happens all the time because normies in the real world have a lot of fucking right-wing attitudes on social issues. Right-wing culture is very dominant in the minds of normies, right? And there are obviously a lot of systemic factors at play here. You have tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into think tanks and advocacy groups on the right to set up the most appropriate anti-trans narratives that they can find. They go back to the drawing board when they fail. Like with the trans bathroom bill in North Carolina, they go back to the drawing board and they find a new way to just like hammer in the point that like trans people need to be forcibly excised from society. Like, this is a endless battle, an endless struggle, right? It is very, very difficult to combat. So when you see it in the real world, like, you have to offer pushback. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. That's ridiculous. Okay. But the way that you do it in the real world is always going to be different than the way you do it online, because online it just turns into noise. It turns into passionate advocacy in general. And then if anyone even turns around and says, hey, we should of course not allow bigotry of any sort to exist, but there are probably better, more appropriate targets to unload into out there. Even when someone makes that argument, people go, what do you mean? You just love bigotry. You just want to be fucking friends with all your bigoted friends. You're bigot yourself. You're fucking fascist, blah, 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 all this shit. And we're too annoying about it sometimes. I see what you're saying. It just pushes people for exactly. Because the average person doesn't have, the average person has not put a lot of thought into this. The average person, the normie, unless they have like one close associate who is trans or one close associate who is from a marginalized background that has actually communicated their real world experiences to them, the average fucking person, and no, not the average white person, stop with that shit either. It's more often than not white people, white men specifically, but it's not always white men specifically. This is how fucking Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party lost the entirety of the Hispanic vote. Okay, stop. This is what I try to describe to people, where I'm like, it's not just white people. White people majority, sure, but like, it's not just white people. You're fucking failing to see it. Okay? So my point is, when someone hasn't already signed up to be woke and overcome a metric ton of propaganda that is constantly beamed in their collective consciousness that like, these people are weird, these people are gross, these people are violent, right? If they haven't like leaned into, if they haven't actually pushed back against that at all and deconstructed some of this shit, some of their earlier social conditioning, and the only thing they see is people broadly coming after them, even if they're like kind of trying to be good to the best of their ability, when there are infinitely worse actors out there who are very clearly streamlining right-wing propaganda and also come across as much more forgiving and much more accepting. That's how we lose in the long run. That's how we lose in the long run. This doesn't mean that you don't fucking, you don't say, hey, time out, stop the hate. Okay? You should do that. I do it all the fucking time, and you should too. If you see something cringe, you go, hey, That's a little bit cringe, big dog. Where'd you learn that? Time out. Stop the hate. Okay? Straight up. But you have to do it in a way where it's like you don't come across like a fucking hall monitor, because it sucks, but we're not very good online. The online spaces are not very good and not very disciplined in the way that they push back on this stuff. A lot of people don't know a big chunk of PR is kind of pro-Trump. There's a lot of self-hate. Hell, my great-grandma was like, dating white is correct and see whiteness as the best. It's not just white people. Yeah, there is that too. I mean, white supremacy is such an ever-present concept that, yes, it is baked into the collective consciousness of non-white people as well. The normal people's starting point is rooted in white supremacy and misogyny, and even making them aware of that is an extreme step that they more often than not take offense to. Yeah. As a former normie, your strategy works. Yeah, I mean, clearly. I think one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that people on the left go, well, I'm morally righteous, so everyone should come on board, without ever factoring in their social learning experiences and their own personal experiences in their own environment, and like the metric ton of propaganda that they don't even look at as propaganda but just take for granted. They don't realize that like a lot of people's starting position is fucking incredibly reactionary, because we live in a reactionary culture. We live in a reactionary world. We live in a reactionary country, right? So you always have to factor that in when you are having conversations with people. You know, you trap more. What is the term? You trap more flies with honey than vinegar. You should study sociology. Brother, I come from a Marxist tradition. That is sociology. More like socialismology. You have to be a little bit compassionate, even to dipshits. Yeah, for sure. And I get how ridiculous that fucking sounds. Brother, I get how ridiculous that fucking sounds. All right? Because, you know, there's a point of marginalization that I have experienced at non-fucking stop as well. Right? I'm not going to get back into it. I'm not going to relitigate it, because people get bored and people get annoyed with me when I talk about this. But yes, I understand how much of a hair trigger you develop over years and years of trying to constantly fucking justify your existence. Bro, how do you come from a Marxist tradition and espouse this liberal, non-materialist ass take? Because first of all, this experience of marginalization on the basis of identity is still done as a vehicle to drive home divisiveness and destroy class consciousness. Okay, it is a weapon, and it's also a weapon that is wielded, one, to destroy class consciousness and foment class solidarity, and two, the non-material liberal ass take in this situation also causes you to forget that, like, while the segmenting of society can be done at the basis of identity, racialized segmenting of society, anti-blackness, for example, that in and of itself, the violence that black people receive is still the same type of violence of class. This is not like, I get called a class reductionist all the time, but I think I have a more unique take on this. And what I mean by that is like anti-blackness is still class violence. Okay? White supremacy is still class violence. It always is class violence. It's both class violence because it's divisive, and it causes those in the working class to behave like lumpen proles. Okay? And also on top of that, the violence that black people receive from the superstructure, the violence that black people receive from systematic factors, is still the very same, if not worsened, version of class violence. Like redlining. Redlining was directed at black people, but the outcome for black people was still being on the receiving end of class violence. It was racialized, but it was still class violence. This is ironic because a lot of people say, oh, the Marxist tradition is so white. And yet all of the existing and all of the historic socialist developments have been far more woke than its capitalist counterparts at the time, whether it be fascism or whether it be liberalism. Okay? There is a reason for that, because socialists first and foremost understand that your background, your skin color, your gender is utterly irrelevant. What matters is still your class position. What matters is that you are a worker, okay? And that's precisely why they have worked tirelessly to try and uplift all workers. This doesn't mean that you eliminate, or this doesn't mean that you don't factor in these other immaterial identity markers, especially if there is identity markers that are specifically designed to divide the working class. Anyway, yeah, literally 90% of the countries who try to apply socialism were non-white. Skin color isn't irrelevant in America. We have a racialized slave class to this day. Yes, also, no one said it's irrelevant. And I even said that the USSR didn't even consider it to be fucking irrelevant. And the USSR is the whitest version of socialism that you can arrive at, right? As opposed to the numerous other successful or failed versions of socialist revolution. James Baldwin spoke and wrote about this very beautifully. You see this WPBM ignore steak
Nigga
logo?
said HasanAbi her shit. Yo, y'all gotta deadass relax. Hassan's my dog. I think y'all got all this shit twisted. Y'all weird as hell. I'm not throwing no shot collars or nothing. Chill out. Nigga said HasanAbi her shit. Yo.
Load the Cowboy Bebop shirt, my fellow millennial. All right, let's finish.
Look behind you. Look behind you. Look behind you. It was more just like the thing of where I had my...
Okay, but what about people like in this in your orbit who are literally making fun of Palestinians getting genocided, yet no one in the streamosphere is calling them out? What is this? Fan? The fuck? What the fuck did Fan do? Dude, see, this is what I mean. We're like, now we're fucking 8 steps deep into discourse. Like, I don't give a shit. Okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Okay, can I just finish this clip?
It's how video...
I'm not getting involved in this beyond what I've talked about already, okay?
Paints a narrative. And in my mind, I think the thing I was like, yeah, it is unfair to make a dog stay in frame all the time. Like, it's got to be. It like started to bleed in.
Hilarious.
And then you're there and you're like, the dog's wandering around. And there's this gigantic fucking dog. He's just lying down next to my leg. And you're like, yeah, dogs lie down.
Yeah.
But it didn't convince me, but it did get under my skin enough that I was like, am I making a bad decision right now?
That's
and then
hilarious.
I walked in there and I swear to God, the second I saw the dog, I was like, you idiot.
Right.
How powerful this.
Yeah. That's crazy because
so many clips and these Twitch streamers, they're on camera.
Yeah.
I think
their whole time. I mean,
whole time.
Their whole life is on camera.
There's 3 clips where Hassan moves his hand like this and the dog goes like this and you go, it's a shock.
Yeah.
And it's more just to really accept, oh yeah, I can be manipulated.
Yeah, that's fascinating because I didn't even consider that as part of the advice because I guess I really try and not think of any of that as reality, even though it is, right? Like, you can't help that, like, public opinion and the internet, like, just does affect your life.
Yeah.
But I try really hard.
I feel like you've had to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean,
in a way that I'm maybe as... Every new notch is like new. Like I remember when the one mean comment would.
Oh right.
And then it's like, all right, this tweet.
I don't watch any of these drama streamer people, but their drama is always covered on every lifter stream, so it's hard not to pay attention. I know. I don't give a shit.
60,000 people that says I suck.
Right.
Okay, that's
right.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
that was one of my best tweets, by the way. That was some of my best engagement that month.
Because you.
Yeah. What is this? Sorry to interrupt, but Israel just started airstriking Gaza again. Every framework for the ceasefire is now gone. I know. I'm gonna get into that. Hold on. Take notes. You need to spend less time on stream, Unc. It's true. I do need to spend less time on stream. The drama in responding to your chat is the shit I wade through to get to the commentary. Sometimes the commentary or the talking to chat segments are still important, though. I try to make sure that it's instructive and it's not you can't let drama consume the commentary. And I think a lot of people lean into that. I try to make a point and then move on and get to the fucking news, you know? You need to spend more time getting Jamaican beef patties and cocoa bread. Move the New York big dog. I never got the fucking Jamaican beef patties, bro. That shit, I wanted to get it so bad. I wanted to get it so goddamn bad, and I didn't. And now I feel bad about it. And it makes me frustrated that I didn't get the beef patties. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu ordering military to immediately strike Gaza. I don't know where the fuck this came from, but it's not surprising that it's not surprising in the least bit. Get some oxtail too. Even White Boy Chef from OKC is on it. I feel like I've had oxtail. I don't know. I've had like a bunch of Nigerian food, and some of the Nigerian food that I've had has been fucking amazing. Obviously, jollof is excellent. I fucking love that shit. But I remember having like something that was like it was so many different parts of the animal that I'm not used to eating usually, because like I love intestines. Like kokoreç is a Turkish food that I love. It's like chopped up very specifically. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite types of food, right? So I'm not like shy about eating different parts of the animal. I have a lot of experience with it. But yeah, see, everybody goes, ew. It's not ew. It's fucking decadent. Okay. You have not lived until you've had different parts of the fucking animal like that. Okay. Nah, I got to get it from Caribbean people. It's made by a bunch of different cultures. We make cow foot too in my country. See, that's what I was saying. Like, I think one of the things that I had with like Nigerian food, I forget what it was, but it was like it had too many chewy parts, right? How do I describe it? It was like it had the what's the thing between the bone? Cartilage. It had like cartilage in it and stuff too. And I just like, I don't fuck with cartilage. I don't like cartilage. And I've also never liked tongue, even though tongue is something that Turkish people consume as well. But I ride for intestines and parts of the stomach. I think as far as like weirder parts of the animal that like white people don't usually consume, I would say intestines is great. I don't really like I said, I don't really like the texture of tongue. I don't like the texture of tongue. And I also, the other thing I don't like, and a lot of people do, especially in Turkey when I was growing up, a lot of people love liver. Okay? They love liver. I've never liked liver. I think it's too like the taste of liver is too strong. I don't really enjoy it. I don't really enjoy liver. I don't like the mouthfeel of tongue, and I don't like liver that much. Have you ever had a chicken heart? Yes, chicken hearts are excellent. Chicken hearts are really interesting because chicken hearts are also like super high in protein from what I understand. Yeah, stomach lining, tripe, I've had that. Yes. Foie gras, I love. You are crazy. Liver, tongue, and testicules are mad good. I don't know if I ever had testicles, but yeah, I've tried different parts of animals. Like as long as it's not seafood, I'll try it. I'll try it once. Yeah, no, duck liver is amazing. Obviously pate, and foie gras. Like I do fuck with that. Stewed pork and some jerk chicken slabs too. I give you Rex, but they are in Brooklyn. Foie gras is truly heinous. I like it. Anyway. All right. Let's talk about Gaza. What are we doing? Why are we talking about foods? Different cultures and different types of foods that people consume and not consume. It's time to talk about Gaza.
The Middle East, big developments there in the last hour. Israel has carried out what it says are intense strikes on Hamas in response to what it claims are repeated violations of the Gaza ceasefire plan and what they say was a deliberate deception plot over the remains of a deceased hostage handed over yesterday. Hamas has now said it will postpone a planned handover of another deceased hostage body because of those Israeli strikes. Let's go back to our security correspondent Frank Gardner, who is in Jerusalem for us. And Frank, tell us a little more about why we've got to this stage, but also do we know any more about where these strikes have actually happened?
No, this has happened very recently, really in the last few minutes, Matthew. So there's been two lots of response from the Israelis. The first response was with artillery, and that was in response to what it says was Hamas firing on their troops east of the Yellow Line. Now, the Yellow Line is a kind of roughly north-south line that dividing the Gaza Strip into the 53% of it that is controlled by Israel and its military, and the remaining 47% where Hamas is still the prevailing military power. And Israel saying that its forces were fired on and this was a violation of the ceasefire deal by Hamas. And in addition to that, we're told that there were airstrikes that were launched, were ordered by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after intense consultations with the Americans in response to what it says was a deliberate deception plot by Hamas. Last night, Hamas was due to hand over another hostage, the remains of another dead hostage. Forensic tests, Israel says, proved that it was actually nothing, wasn't a new hostage. This was somebody who had already been recovered, their body been recovered 2 years ago. In addition to that, an IDF drone secretly filmed Hamas, and we've seen the footage. It does look pretty damning for Hamas. It does appear to show Hamas operatives taking the remains in a shroud out of a building, putting them into a shallow dug grave, covering it up with soil, and then handing it over to Red Cross International Committee, the Red Cross officials, which Israel said was a deception. Now, Hamas has not immediately commented on that. They have postponed the next handover that was due to take place this evening. They've also, very importantly, said, look, don't blame us for the delays in handing over these hostages, these dead hostages. Israel is obstructing the excavation work and making it very difficult for them to do it. Israel says, for its part, that they don't trust Hamas. They think it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Hamas that's breaking the ceasefire. Hey, guys, it's definitely. By the way, remember when everyone was talking about how like Hamas is doing field executions, like this is unjustifiable, and then all of the human rights organizations that work in Gaza came out in unison and were like, hey, by the way, we realize that there is a lot less interceptions taking place at the point of aid distribution and delivery since Hamas has overtaken control over the parts of Gaza that Israel isn't currently occupying. Oh my God, how interesting how that works. It almost fucking feels like the Israel-backed militants in Gaza that are, drug dealers and ISIS affiliates and whatnot were directly contributing to the destabilization of the Strip by attacking aid delivery. Interesting how that works. Yeah, and remember when day one everyone was like, why aren't pro-Palestinians celebrating the ceasefire? Because the ceasefire never actually took complete hold. Yeah, Bibi had a court day today. I don't want to lean too much into the whole, like, Benjamin Netanyahu is using the plight of Palestinians and like hitting the let's kill more Palestinians button over and over again in a way to avoid his own legal battles, because I feel like his own legal battles are somewhat inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. But the timing of it is always suspicious. I heard you were quitting. Where is this coming from? Who said I was quitting? Bro, if someone uses a clip of mine to say I am quitting and I'm live every fucking day, you have to stop listening to those people. Okay? You have to stop. Bro, I saw it trending on Twitter. Okay, you have to stop listening to whoever is saying this because they are very clearly lying. I know it's not one person. I know. That's why I came here, my guy. No, that's what I mean. It's not just about coming here and seeing for yourself, which I do respect. Okay, thank you for doing that. But it also means that you probably shouldn't trust those people any longer. Hasan is quitting keeps trending on TikTok too. Yeah, I don't get it. I guess at this point it's just like, it doesn't fucking matter what I do. People just like have decided, no, Hasan quit. He actually quit. No reason to go and check. No reason to go and check and see if that's the case or not. Fuck it. Like, people just straight up live in an alternative reality at this point on the internet. And I think that's where we're at. That's just where we're at now. There's nothing you can do about it.
It's deliberately dragging this process out for as long as possible to toy with the emotions of the families. And other analysts in this region have said to me, well, actually, Hamas may well be kind of playing for time here because they worry that when the International Stabilization Force comes into Gaza and Hamas is obliged to hand over its weapons, it wants to be in as strong a position as possible so it doesn't basically get overrun by some of the armed clans that exist in Gaza. Highly complicated situation.
Frank, in terms of the American position, are you clear about that? Because since the ceasefire plan was signed up to, they have actually at different points said that and have acknowledged that actually it will be difficult in part for Hamas to retrieve the bodies because of the rubble and all the rest of it. So where are the Americans in where we've arrived at today?
Well, up until 24 hours ago, I would say that the bulk of the US pressure has been on Israel, primarily a restraining hand. If you remember, about 10 days ago, a couple of Sundays.
Once again, this framing is so crazy. Obviously, BBC is just like unlimited dick riding for Israel as always. But the framework is always so crazy because like they make it seem as though like Israel is an unstoppable force, like a hurricane or a volcano or something. And it's like, oh, well, there's a lot of restraint coming from the Trump side against Israel. And it's like, okay, well, doesn't that beg the question that Israel is the one who has been serially violating the fucking ceasefire? What are we talking about, man? What the hell?
Ago, there was a big outbreak of violence. Over 40 Palestinians were killed, 2 Israeli soldiers were killed, and the ceasefire was looking pretty rocky. The Americans came in, got on the phone, had their meetings with the Israelis and said, do not resume the war in Gaza. Now, the Israelis are saying to the Americans, look, we've been patient. You've asked us to be patient. We have been, but Hamas are playing games with us. What do you expect us to do? So I think we have to assume that this response, this armed response by Israel, and we haven't been told yet we don't yet know what the casualties are on the Hamas side or indeed on the Gazan civilian side, if there have been any. But we have to assume that those airstrikes and artillery strikes would have been done in consultation with the Americans. But most importantly, the Americans do not want to see this ceasefire plan blown off course.
Yes.
They will have said to Israel, you can do just so much, but no further. Don't overdo it, because we want to move on to phase 2 and get Gaza back up and running. And of course, the last thing Gazans want is a resumption of the war. They've had 2 years of it. They don't want any more.
Exactly on that point, finally, Frank, because we have talked before and talked about perhaps the Lebanese model that exists, which is that there is a
I tapped out of the stream and got timed out. Are we just dropping the topic about you quitting? What is this? This is the clip? Bro, this has Hasan's last statement before quitting social media forever. What? I like that. I had completely forgotten I'd seen those TikToks until now because it was so easy to see through their bullshit. I don't know if people are falling for it. That's on them. It literally takes a pinch of media literacy to figure out the accounts are pushing this or disingenuous. Yeah. Move On has 5K likes. No one cares. I mean, seemingly a bunch of people have fucking come in here to be like, dude, what the fuck? Why are people saying you're quitting? I'm gonna be honest, dude. We are getting dumber and dumber. Like a lot of people think that they're actually smarter than mainstream media because like mainstream media narratives are like bullshit or whatever. But they are so fucking susceptible to like a random guy on the internet just talking shit to their phone camera. It's so funny. Yeah, I quit. Like if you're getting rape tone farmed, okay, if you're getting farmed by like a dickhead who is roundly despised by every single person for good fucking reasons, like you gotta really reconsider. Especially because this is not even a cancellation at this point. This is just like, I hope he quits. Actually, he quit. Please don't look. Please don't look over there. Please don't look over there. He quit. Okay, guys, do not tune into the HasanAbi broadcast. It's so funny that an entire generation. It's so funny that an entire fucking generation of people who used to laugh at their parents getting duped by like email chains and stuff like that now have their children behave in the exact same way. It shows how desperately they want you to believe you're going away. Clearly, the smear campaigns are not working. I know. All right, let's continue.
Ceasefire on paper, but sporadic major strikes from Israel, and the thought about whether that would be the template that the Israelis use. Because the worry here is that this ceasefire plan has the potential to unravel with what we've seen even in the last couple of hours.
There is that. So let's just kind of remind ourselves where we've got to. This is the tail end of phase 1 of the Trump 20-point peace plan. All 20 living Israeli hostages have been returned. That's a plus. Nobody can take that away. That is a major achievement, along with the release of over 1,700 Palestinian detainees that were taken from Gaza, plus around 200.
Yeah, major achievement that was the Hamas framework since like October 10, 2023, by the way. Like, again, virtually all the parts of the Gaza phase 1 ceasefire plan was already what Hamas had said yes to, with the only exception of Israel not like removing its military from the entirety of the Gaza Strip. The only thing that they had considered a red line that they had to say yes to in the first phase was that Israel would maintain troops in like 50% of the Gaza Strip. Okay? That's the only thing that they said yes to that they hadn't said yes to prior. And obviously the scary aspect of this was that Israel was going to consistently violate the ceasefire and continue bombing and continuous genocide after getting all of the Israeli hostages, the Israeli captives. And we're back. We're back at it.
50 convicted criminals.
They said yes to that? No. In the first phase, they agreed to removing all of their leverage. The only leverage the Palestinian Resistance Front has against Israel was the captives. And they said that their red line was a full withdrawal from the Strip. But it seems to me like there was a new calculation by the Palestinian resistance that the captives were no longer a point of leverage that they could use because Israel just didn't give a shit, and the rest of the world didn't give a shit either. And Israel would just seemingly consistently say, well, they have our hostages, so we can bomb all the Palestinians and keep putting pressure on the entire civilian population of Palestinians by continuing this genocide as a point of leverage. Just like aid distribution, which is a war crime, by the way, to the civilian population, a captive civilian population, was used as a point of leverage in the negotiation side for Israel. It's ridiculous.
In Israeli jails. That bit has happened. But what's the
sticky... not argumentative nor a trap upon them captives instead of hostages. Is that accurate and right? Were they not civilians? No, the last batch was the last 20, I think, were all Israeli occupational forces soldiers. And what's interesting is there was one person actually that was captured at Noah Argamani's boyfriend, who also, it later came out, was also a I think like Israeli Secret Service or something. So every single remaining captive at that point were Israeli occupational force soldiers. As far as the Palestinian hostages goes, they are straightforward hostages. Like, for the most part, they're like doctors, regular civil society servants, things of that nature. I'm sure there's some militants that they have been able to capture in the process as well. But oftentimes they just kill the militants even before they actually apprehend them and prosecute them. There wasn't like 1,700 Palestinian militants that they captured and then released back into Gaza. They were all civilians. I'm not sure the wording matters, to be honest. Even if they're military, they served the purpose of a hostage. Is hostage carry a connotation we don't like or something? No, there's a difference between prisoners of war and hostages. That's why. There is like at least a legal gray area for prisoners of war versus hostages where there is no legal gray area. Under international law, obviously genocide is illegal, but nobody gives a shit. But considering the asymmetry that exists for the resistance, that was illegal. It was always illegal. Like, capturing civilians in the process of a military campaign is illegal. It's not. There's no question about it. Now, of course, when you look at the legality of the actions of a resistance group, you have to match that with what they are facing, right? The severity of the crisis. If you're looking at like 75 years of apartheid and occupation and sovereignty over this indigenous population, then of course the dynamic shifts a little bit. It's like looking at the Nat Turner Rebellion and then not matching that up against the severe death and destruction that black people faced under chattel slavery, and simply just looking at that in and of itself and going, wow, that was really fucked up. They slaughtered babies in their cribs, right? Like, what the fuck? That's crazy. They slaughtered white babies in their cribs. Like, yes, it was brutal. Yes, it was horrific. Having said that, the legalized practice of chattel slavery was so far and beyond more horrific than the singular act of violence that was born out of the Nat Turner Rebellion, that like it doesn't even make a blip, right? That's the reason why you look at like ANC and the way that they dealt with collaborators as opposed to the legalized practice of apartheid, and you say, okay, well, you know, there is a much at least throughout history, people have overall, when they are atoning for what the resistance has done in the process of liberation, they oftentimes will be much more charitable to the resistance front and the actions, no matter how violent they are, because they understand that the violence that they were subjected to, that they were trying to end, is far more consequential and systematized.
The point now is ongoing sporadic violence between Hamas and Israel.
I know what a POW is. They didn't take them as POWs with the rules and regulations that POW status entails. I might be missing something, but I don't really understand why the term hostage is diminishing the Palestinian cause. Captive is also fine. Prisoner is fine, but why hostage bad, Jen? No, I'm explaining it to you. No, like kidnapped from a tank, okay? That's what I always think about. Like Nimrod Cohen was kidnapped from a tank, right? Now, no disrespect, because I think Nimrod Cohen's dad is like a pretty strong advocate for ending the occupation. But like, the reality of the matter is you can't get kidnapped from a tank. You can't be a hostage if you were apprehended inside of a tank. Okay? You are literally a prisoner of war in that situation. Like do you see what I mean? Like words do matter in that regard. Like a non-combatant that is a IDF reservist or a non-combatant that is taken in the process of when they're what's the term, hors de combat or whatever, like when they're not, there's an international designation for this under international rules, where a soldier that is not in the process of doing soldier duties are still not are still not considered like enemy combatants. My point is, it just doesn't fucking matter when it comes to Israel anyway, right? Like, we are trying to make sense of all of it within the framework of international law, but let's be real. International law is not worth the paper that is written on when it comes to whatever the fuck Israel wants to do.
Inside Gaza Strip, and this yellow line that has got the two sides very close to each other, plus the fact that Hamas has yet to hand over the remaining remains of dead hostages. And there's deep suspicion on the Israeli side that Hamas's excuses are not genuine. They do not believe, the Israelis simply don't believe that Hamas is doing its best to find them and hand them over. They say they've got evidence that Hamas knows exactly where all the bodies are buried. It's simply toying with people's emotions. Hamas is saying, cut us some slack. Our Gaza Strip is rubble. Much of it is reduced to, some of these bodies are buried under tons of rubble. It's going to take a while. We need excavation equipment, which the Egyptians have sent, and don't obstruct us. We need time to find them. So it depends which side you want to believe.
Frank Gardner, live for us there in Jerusalem. Thanks for bringing us right up to date. Thank you.
Before we get to the New York City mayoral race, like, that's the latest updates from Israel, which is unfortunately the type of update that we're very familiar with, where one side ceases and Israel fires. This is exactly what happened in Lebanon as well. This is exactly what happens all over the place, because Israel gets to operate within the confines of American protection. And that is the reason why it is more important than ever to basically stress the Trump administration and the American side to forcibly put the restraints on Israel, because they're violating Trump's big, beautiful deal and potentially violating Trump's big, beautiful Gulf deals that might come along in the aftermath of this ceasefire. So it's imperfect. It sucks. Like, who gives a shit about the narcissistic man-child? But what is this? It's interesting how Hassan uses the word resistance. I absolutely agree with what Israel has done as genocide and terrorism, but isn't calling what I perceive as Hamas something relatively positive as resistance? Aren't they a terrorist just like Israel government and Zionists? No. They are a part of a national resistance front. because October 7 is not the pivotal turning point of this, of the plight of the Palestinians. They are objectively a national resistance front. They are a part of the National Resistance Front, a resistance to the occupation, not just a resistance to Israeli genocide, but a resistance to the Israeli occupation and sovereignty over the indigenous Palestinian population. They are quite literally resistance. The reason why people don't use that terminology, and this is where, you know, we get into words mean something, and the reason why they say, the reason why a lot of people say, no, you mustn't call them that, you have to call them terrorists, is because terrorism is a loaded term. It's a vague term, and it is a term designed to deny the people any sort of due process so they can be destroyed, they can be killed. And in Israel's case, they can even end up collateralizing all of the other civilians that are around what Israel has declared and what the American government continues to say are terrorists. Okay? I'm sure you've heard the term one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, but that is kind of the dynamic. It's reductive to say it like that, but it is kind of the dynamic. And I think you can see this dynamic actually play itself out right now in Latin America. Okay? America is currently using that vague definition of terrorism that they've slapped on to every single person that is sailing on a boat off of their own coastlines to illegally and extrajudicially murder random people on boats and then say they're narco-terrorists. That is perhaps one of the greatest examples of how silly this entire process is. They call them narco-terrorists. And when you call someone a terrorist, when the American government or the Israeli government or one of the allied nations calls a group of people terrorists, more often than not, they're not white, by the way, then they can get away with doing whatever the fuck they want. Anyway, it seems like the U.S., in the U.S. anyway, resistance carries a positive connotation and evokes ideas of fighting against oppression, while terrorism carries a connotation of nonsensical and unlimited violence. Maybe militant is a neutral version, but I don't know if it has any connotation. Yes, but it is perfectly valid to both call Hezbollah and Hamas and the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, and even Palestinian Islamic Jihad, regardless of their own personal ideologies, regardless of how they think Palestinian society should be run, to be the militant front for national resistance. For Hezbollah, it is a Shia paramilitary group that was designed specifically to fight back against Israeli incursion inside of Lebanese borders and to also protect the Shia population against sectarian violence that was taking place, oftentimes directed by Western leadership and specifically by Israel, right? And as far as Hamas goes, as far as all of these groups go, if you look at the actual history of the term terrorist ever, the term terrorist being utilized, the first time that it was ever found as a legal definition was actually in response to, I believe, the PLO. So, ironically enough, we started calling Palestinian resistance groups terrorists all the way back decades prior to the term becoming much more broadly accepted in the aftermath of the war on terror after 9/11. No, it's not back in the 90s. It's even before then. Actually, the DFLP hasn't been designated a terror org for multiple decades. Yes, because they've been successfully dismantled. That's the reason. They are incredibly marginal. If Chodiner hits you up, are you doing an interview? Yes. John Brown was both a militant and a terrorist in the context of the state at the time, but was still just, despite the label. The words don't really matter. News is always propaganda, for example, despite the negative associations with the word. Yes, exactly. That's a lie, by the way. The U.S. government just went after a charity for being a front for material support for PFLP and terrorism. Yes, PFLP and DFLP are different. PFLP has a little bit more motion than DFLP, and they just don't really exist at all. At least PFLP has like maybe 100 people, but the Democratic Front is virtually non-existent as far as I understand. Even though the limited amount of people that are a part of the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which, by the way, PFLP and DFLP are both different Marxist tendencies. They're socialist formations. They used to have a lot more
They used to have a lot more membership. They used to have a lot more. Yeah, DFLP split from PFLP back in the day. But regardless, one of them is I think Maoist. I think DFLP might be Maoist. It doesn't really matter. They are super, super marginal. Okay, they are very marginal in the grand scheme of things. Like the resistance front is predominantly led by Hamas. Hamas has taken over the PLO as like the organizing factor as a part of the militant resistance front. And one of the successes that they have seen is that they've been able to combine the entirety of the resistance front. So it's mostly Hamas that has the largest number of militants, largest number of armed combatants, and followed closely by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Hamas, however, unlike the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, also has a civil governance component in Gaza, whereas the Palestinian Islamic Jihad is not a real party anymore. Like, they have no interest in, at least in the last couple of decades, they have not necessarily had any sort of investment in operating as a part of the political infrastructure of Palestinians. More so they are more so a militancy. They don't do a lot of politics. They just have a brigade. Anyway, a lot of the what's interesting, at least in my experience, and maybe I'm a little bit wrong about this, but like PFLP, back when in their heyday, was actually quickly eradicated by Israel because they saw PFLP as a real threat, because they could do an international Marxist call to arms and they could get support from other existing international Marxist organizations. And that was a major problem for the Mossad. That was a major issue for the Mossad. So as opposed to how much motion that they previously had, the amount of motion they have now is fairly limited, because they were a part of an international Marxist movement, which is precisely the reason why you had the Japanese Red Army faction that would go to Lebanon and train with the PFLP, and then would go and hijack planes and stuff back in the day. And many of them were Christian too. Many of them were Christian Palestinians. And Israel assassinated all of them, including their leadership, alongside their family members in places like Lebanon, like Ghassan Kanafani, who had never actually held a weapon, as far as I understand. He was specifically a writer, and yet Israel killed them all the same. This does not mean that there weren't militants within the PFLP. Of course, there were, but Israel killed the militants and the non-militants all the same. And of course, even then, their militancy was certainly valid. They were resisting against an oppressive settler colonial apparatus that was backed by the entirety of the Western world at the time. All right. New York City mayor's race narrows as election day approaches, and we're going to be talking about that. This is a blackpilling moment.
Election day, now just 1 week away. Early voting in the New York City mayor's race has seen a much stronger turnout than 4 years ago.
It comes as Andrew Cuomo is now gaining ground on Zohran Mamdani in the polls. Christina Fan is live at an early voting site in Jackson Heights, Queens. Christina.
Mary and Chris, good morning.
It's crazy the leftists, even outside the Imperial Core, still have infighting and splitting. How is that always so difficult? What are the major disagreements that these groups have that split them? Are they actually being sabotaged by liberals? No. As much as I would like to say it's the fucking liberals or it's the reactionaries that infiltrate these movements, and there are some instances where they do that, this has been an endless problem on the left. If you ever look to the history of successful socialist revolutions and unsuccessful revolutionary movements, reformist, revisionist movements, it just always is. It always has existed. There is a reason why every single important Marxist, socialist thinker, even during a successful revolution, has spent endless amounts of time constantly criticizing other delineations and other tendencies amongst the left. There's never been a moment where successful law, yes, I would say the USSR was the aftermath of a successful revolution. If you can design a state, then your revolution was successful. You might not agree with like how the state is managed after that. Okay. I think a lot of the infighting also stems from how overwhelming the forces of capital are. It makes it virtually impossible to design any sort of discipline in any sort of movement, especially because a lot of people have very different versions of what it means to be authoritarian and what it means to be a democratically organized movement. And those differences become fairly consequential in the grand scheme of things. And no one turns around and goes, okay, we've actually achieved this success. We've actually destroyed Tsarist Russia. Now it's time for us to unify. It never works that way. It happens at every point. The American left, which is virtually non-existent, okay, is a great example of this. Even when we got no class consciousness as a country, even when we have no real robust left movement in the country, people are still fucking constantly eating each other alive, talking about how different it is, okay? Constantly talking about how fucking, it's bullshit.
Morning, more than 223,000 people have cast their ballots during the first 3 days of early voting, and there appears to be a surge of older voters. They are outnumbering younger New Yorkers who helped propel Zohran Mamdani to his dominant win over Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary. Zohran Mamdani all smiles as he appeared on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart Monday night, confident his legion of 90,000 volunteers will bring him to victory over the finish line, despite a new poll showing Andrew Cuomo surging.
Making buses faster, free delivering universal child care. These are not just slogans.
Right.
These are commitments.
Chatter's wrong. There are liberation groups who aren't even infighting and formed a united front. Not exactly socialist Marxists. PFLP and DFLP are the only ones who had a split along ideological lines. Hamas and PIJ were created on their own terms, not socialist, but still liberationists. Yes. Yes. I know. This is true. And ultimately, they still had a singular focus in fighting back against the Israeli occupation. So they could unite in their militancy, in their efforts of militancy, because of how oppressive Israel has been. So historically, and even in contemporary society, the only time where a dominated population ever actually gets together and casts aside whatever differences in opinion that they have is when they're singularly focused on an emancipatory struggle, when they're singularly focused on overcoming a fascist movement or overcoming an ethno-nationalist apartheid project such as Israel, or overcoming the utter domination of Tsarist Russia. Those are the only instances where people actually successfully get together and fight back. So much so that I can point to you the endless civil war that existed between Maoists and the nationalists in China. They also dropped their infighting to do a little collab special in an effort to fight against the Japanese genocide that was taking place. They literally did that. They were like, all right, we got to do a little bit of a collab here. Okay? W collab. Is Zohran losing? What's happening? He's not, but so far the early numbers that have come out do not look too good. Okay? And we're going to talk about that. It's not because this is CBS. There is certainly a little bit of validity, so much so that even the Zohran campaign itself has actually used this as an opportunity to spark the light under the asses of a lot of people. Okay. They also put out a press notification saying Cuomo's cut our lead in half from 20 to 10. And a lot of older people are voting in the early voting. The early voting numbers look crazy. Okay. They're like 5xing previous early voting numbers. And unfortunately for Zohran, the early voting numbers off of demographics are 55 plus year olds that favor Cuomo over Zohran. Now, they favor Cuomo over Zohran by a small margin. Okay. They favor Cuomo over Zohran in the 55 plus demographic over like oftentimes around like 4 points. Having said that, it's still a cause for concern. The socialist labeling is one of the biggest uphill battles that will always work against the progressive. I don't think it's the socialist label. I think it's more so just straightforward racism. I think the mailers and the flyers and presenting Zoran as like this scary threat to New York that's going to do 9/11 10 times over if he becomes mayor is working with the boomers, with the white boomers, and not even just the white boomers, with the black boomers and brown boomers as well. Mike from PA told me that younger people vote late into early voting, so you see a bias towards higher age early in early voting. Sure. But you have to understand, like, a lot of us look to that stuff and instantly think this is gross, right? This is gross. This is this is racist. This is bullshit. But what we consider to be bullshit, many older people do not. Many older people say, "Oh my God, this is terrifying." Okay, there are numerous factors in here that must be considered. I think people's tendency to be duped by the algorithm plays a role in this as well. After all, I just spent the last 30 minutes covering people who are our age coming in here to be like, I just saw that you're quitting on TikTok. Why the fuck is that a thing? Right? It kind of feels like people do have a tendency to be duped. For all the people that have come in here to check on their own, I'm sure there are tens of thousands of people who just made up their minds that I had actually quit. You know? I do think what's funny about this is that a lot of Zoran's policies unironically help the old. Like when you look at rent stabilized housing, like it's people that were lucky enough to get into rent stabilized housing and stayed there for many, many years. So it's like working old folk. And even then, who knows if they receive that message. Meanwhile, you know who is anti-old? Andrew fucking Cuomo. He slaughtered the old of New York during COVID.
And when we deliver them here in New York City, it will be also the delivery of a politics that can actually aspire for more than what you're living through.
The new Suffolk University poll has Mamdani at 44, Cuomo 34, Curtis Sliwa 11. Cuomo has been closing the gap. Mamdani had a 20-point lead in the poll back in September.
I feel very good because New Yorkers, at the end of the day, they want a mayor who can do the job.
But can Cuomo make up 10 points in 8 days with people already voting?
Polls can change in a second, and I expect there'll be a couple, maybe one or two more that might show it's back to 20 or might show it's down to 5. So it's a pretty volatile race. But certainly this is as close as he's gotten.
Early voters have been coming out in record numbers. At the end of day 3, more than 223,000 have already cast a ballot, with Brooklyn and Manhattan leading the way.
We have unprecedented early turnout. Some of that obviously is because I'm running as the only Republican. So let the people determine who becomes the next mayor.
And according to the latest poll, about 7% of those surveyed say they remain undecided. Reporting live from Jackson Heights, Queens, Christina Fan, CBS News, New York.
Christina, thank you.
It is mind-boggling to me that for boomers, I mean, if the fear-mongering coming from CBS News remains, okay, then boomers don't want any policy. They just don't want a brown guy, okay? They just straight up are like, oh, what are the policies that this guy's offering? Fast and free buses, rent freeze for rent stabilized units in New York, universal child care, a tax on the super wealthy potentially. Okay, great. What's the other side offering? I'm not brown and Muslim. I also may or may not have raped a cop, and also am responsible for killing many of your friends. But guess what? I'm not a Mohammedan, and I don't like 9/11, whereas Zoran clearly loves it. After all, he is brown and Muslim. He is Mohammedan. My opponent, ladies and gentlemen of the elderly, is very much a Muslim man who would like to do the Islamic Caliphate. And every boomer's like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is the best. This is Well, you sold me. You fucking sold me. It's just crazy because, like, I don't know. It's hard not to feel discouraged. Mamdani voters overwhelmingly say they're voting for him, but a huge chunk of Cuomo voters say they're mainly voting against Mamdani. 40% of Cuomo voters are voting for Cuomo, and 40% are voting against Mamdani. Whereas for Mamdani, 80% of voters are voting for Mamdani, and only 15% are voting against Cuomo. And no, it's not because they Googled Hasan Piker 9/11 chatters. I am utterly fucking irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, okay? This is what I was trying to explain to you. Hasan Piker 9/11 is not a banger. What's a banger is constantly reminding people that Zoran is a Muslim person and consistently hitting him on the lines of, he's Muslim, he's Muslim. Remember how Muslim he is. Remember, Muslims did 9/11. Have you not seen the fucking attack ads, especially on Twitter? Everywhere you look, they just go, he's eating with his hands. He's eating rice with his hands. He's Muslim. He's scary Muslim terrorist. If Zoran was a white guy, if Zoran was a white dude, okay, and his name was Jedediah, okay, do you think any of that shit would work against him? No. Look at fucking Grant Plattner. Grant Plattner had a goddamn totem cough on his chest. The fuck are we talking about? White people literally see a dude who went on 3 tours, who then signed up to be like an embassy security guy for Blackwater, who had a totem cough on his chest and go, oh, that's a corked up white boy. I'm on board. Fuck it. Let's go. Zoran doesn't have any of that shit and yet gets yelled at about his anti-Semitism non-fucking stop. Hasan Piker 9/11. Yeah, the last time that popped off was it was August of 2019 when I said what I said, ironically enough, and I got a lot of media coverage over it. Do you think Zoran would benefit from getting a Nazi tattoo? No, because Zoran isn't fucking white. That's my point. Zoran isn't white. Graham Plattner is literally doing town halls in towns in Maine that have like 2,000 people population total with like 700 people. So like he's literally currently doing town halls where half the fucking population of the town are at the town hall. Ain't nobody gives a fuck. Whiteness is a superpower. Being white is so OP. Being a white man, oh my God, is the most overpowered shit. I'm making a comparison between Zoran Mamdani, who has a unblemished, unvarnished track record and has great policies, and yet people seemingly still can't overcome the fact that he's fucking brown. Okay? That's it. That's fucking it. I've seen a bunch of people declare this to be a devastating blow for Mamdani, but October, yeah, I mean, I talked about this as well. But October polls show Cuomo only has a 4-point average lead among older voters. In Suffolk County, 55 to 64, Cuomo plus 3, 65 plus, Cuomo plus 4. For 65 plus, Cuomo's lead against Mamdani for 65 plus year old voters is a 0.1 on the AARP poll. For Fox News, 65 plus goes to Cuomo by plus 10. Okay, that's the most like devastating poll. And no, just because it's Fox News doesn't mean that they're not a reputable pollster. They are a reputable pollster. They are a reputable pollster. Don't get fucking sidetracked here by Fox News. Quinnipiac says for 65 plus, Cuomo has a plus 4 lead. Okay, this to me is actually devastating for Cuomo. Cuomo should be cleaning up the New York olds, right? Name recognition, a tendency to overlook all of the past shit that Andrew Cuomo has done. Andrew Cuomo is exactly the type of person that like New York olds would vote for. So the very fact that he's only got a fucking plus 4 lead on the 65 plus line is crazy. It's so crazy that it makes me feel like he already killed all of his fucking voters. And that's the reason why he's only got a plus 4 lead on 65 plus. Because on the other side, when you go back beyond 55. When you go to like 35 to 18 category, it's not even a question. But of course, there is a lot more mobilization for the olds. Old people love voting. Young people don't love voting. Young people are hard to get out to vote. Does this mean that voters will like the young voters will actually turn out in numbers necessary to overcome the olds? We shall see. My actual issue with this is Mamdani needs a fucking mandate, because without it, the sharks will smell the blood in the water. No, I mean, it's fine. It is, mandate or not, Mamdani victory here is fantastic. It's phenomenal. Okay? Mike from PA said the older voters tended to vote in the first days of the early voting, while younger early voters tend to vote in the later part of the early voting periods. I trust Michael from Pennsylvania, especially when it comes to elections. He has a pretty good understanding of this stuff. I don't think it's copium for people who think like, you know, he's coping or whatever, or it's no longer Cuomo over, it's Zoran over. People who are saying we're cooked off the first sign of bad news at PTSD, it's understandable why people have PTSD in this situation. Okay, if you are a part of the left, you probably have developed an understanding that in most circumstances, every single force of capital will be against you, as we have seen in this fucking election. Okay, and people are unfortunately malleable. Okay, people are unfortunately malleable. They are endlessly persuadable, especially when it comes to racialized sentiment and things of that nature. They very clearly respond to it. This was a factor in Kamala Harris's election chances as well, certainly. Not the most consequential factor, but the factor that made all of her negative qualities come across as irredeemable. Okay? And the same goes for Zoran. Despite having an unvarnished track record and has maintained tremendous messaging discipline over the key policies that he wants to implement, there are still plenty of people who can't get over the notion that, you know, you're going to have a Muslim mayor. Oh my God, that's terrifying. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that because of the Islamophobic. The reason why I'm saying that is because that's the only fucking. That is the only thing that Cuomo has been attacking him on. Okay, that's the only thing. That's it. They've attacked him on nothing other than the fact that he is Muslim in the last 2 weeks. This is what's happening with boomers in New York City. Yeah, this is the classic. But here,
7 was bad.
I agree with that. For plans for cleaning up our environment.
9/11.
What about our traffic problem?
9/11.
We like to think that we're so brilliant, we're so smart, and we're not susceptible to propaganda. But honestly, people are by and large very fucking stupid. And I think we forget that this is not some concerted anti-Muslim hatred. It's totally banal. They saw a Fox News segment, don't care about following the race or politics, and go spend 5 minutes to vote for some dude who has a familiar name. And that's like 95% of people. Yes. For a lot of people, that's what it takes. No one is immune to propaganda. No one. What is this? After getting busted in a lie, his aunt wasn't even in New York City during 9/11, and who doesn't wear a hijab? Zoran now says it was a distant cousin, not his aunt, who was afraid to wear a hijab in 9/11 in New York City because of 9/11. Oops, my aunt is my cousin. Leftist talking points collapse. This is what I mean. Like, this is not a real story, but it doesn't fucking matter. And by that, I don't mean like Zoran is faking it. I'm saying like all of the anger towards this anecdote, okay? All of the anger and animosity directed towards this anecdote is because it's a real anecdote that many Muslims have experienced in the aftermath of 9/11, and these guys fucking hate that shit. They don't want to hear it at all. Okay? So their gotcha is a dude calling a distant relative an auntie, okay? As opposed to saying like my dad's distant cousin. How do you explain that to people? How do you explain that to white people? I guess like white people don't do that. They don't like consider other familial relatives aunties, you know?
So recently, in a recent address about Trump,
Like, think about how much people are overlooking Andrew Cuomo's faults and failures, and think about how much of a bigger story they are desperately trying to make this. And it hasn't stopped. Like, the New York Times literally worked with a fucking white supremacist, race realist guy that is like popping on TikTok to say that Zoran had actually lied on his fucking on his college application for a university that he didn't even go to. Like, that was months ago. That was the story. So they've been at it. The New York Times has been at it. They haven't fucking stopped. I need you to understand, New York Times is supposed to be either unbiased in this regard or kind of liberal adjacent. And yet, for some reason, they hammered that super fucking hard early on. It didn't work, but that didn't stop them. This is not only a anecdote that every single Muslim has had, like a similar experience, where they have someone who's like a distant or immediate relative or themselves have experienced this. Okay, this is a very common experience, but God forbid you fucking bring it up. Everyone will chop that shit up into oblivion and try to act as though you're fucking lying about it.
Is that a blood relative? Mm-hmm. Yes, I was speaking about my aunt. I was speaking about Zerafui, my father's cousin, who sadly passed away a few years ago. And for the takeaway from my more than 10-minute address about Islamophobia in this race and in this city to be the question of my aunt tells you everything about Andrew Cuomo and his inability to reckon with a crisis of his own.
Yeah, he says my father's cousin. That's who I was referencing as an aunt. And Ted Cruz, of course, didn't even listen to it. Oops, my aunt is my cousin. Leftist talking points collapse. 44,000 likes. Do you think this is organic? I don't. I don't think this is fucking organic at all. I'm sorry. I have seen a metric ton more Islamophobia than ever before since the ceasefire. Okay? And it is being directed at Zoran aggressively. Yeah, see, breaking. It has been revealed that the aunt Zoran Mamdani shed fake tears over, claiming she stopped riding the subway after 9/11 because she didn't feel safe wearing her hijab. Neither wore a hijab nor lived in New York City at the time she lived in Tanzania. 124,000 likes, 6.7 million views. It's fucking insane, brother. How is this driving discourse? How is this fucking driving discourse, man? 6.7 million views. There are 100K plus likes on any given Islamophobic tweet, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's just who the demographic of Twitter is nowadays. There's two things at play here. One, the anti-Zoran bots are out, okay? The anti-Zoran bots are out. Problem is, botting does work in terms of shaping public discourse and public attitudes. When you see something go buck wild on Twitter, even if you're a normal human being, it actually has a tendency to shape your perspective, okay? It has a tendency to shape your perspective. You go, wow, a lot of people believe this. Maybe this is actually fucked up, okay? And the same goes for not just the, where are you going? Kaya, where are you going? Oh, God. Uh-oh. Hello. Place. Kaya, place. Abuse. Dog abuse. Dog abuse. Two things I think are important to factor here is, number one, I said this already with the City Hall Bureau Chief for New York Times, Emma G. Fitzsimmons, talking about Zoran Mamdani is pressed on La Mega Radio if he lied when he said his aunt stopped taking the subway after September 11th attacks. Mamdani said, it's not a lie. My father's cousin is my aunt. He said that was how he referred to her growing up. To which I said, this is turning into an Obama tan suit level controversy. Now, the thing is, the tan suit is stupid. In hindsight, we look back at it and we point to it as like a silly fucking a point of controversy, or the Dijon mustard controversy. Like, Obama famously was yelled at for shit like that, okay? As opposed to valid reasons to criticize him, which everyone obviously had universal consensus over, extrajudicial killings in the drone war and things of that nature. But they hit him with like the dumbest shit. But while it was happening, that was a big point of contention. It's virtually impossible to explain to people now that that was a mover, man. That was a mover and shaker. Like, people actually unironically would talk about how unpresidential it was that Obama was wearing a fucking tan suit, or how elitist and out of touch and entitled he was for demanding Dijon mustard, or the fact that he wasn't a real American, the fact that he actually faked his fucking birth certificate. In your stream with him, he broadly used uncle or aunt for elderly people. This is so silly. I know. And the other thing that's going on here, obviously, is that Israel can't win Americans over anymore, so its defenders have decided to disparage Muslims instead. And it seems to be working so far. Poll-tested messaging being used by Hasbras to make public more amenable towards Israel. 1. Fear-mongering about Muslims. 2. Jews were promised Palestine. 3. Blaming Palestinians for continuing to resist their murder and displacement. About half of all Europeans were generally misinformed about the state of Israel as a democracy offering freedom of religion, having rights for women and gays. Fear of the threat of Islamic jihadism is prevalent throughout Europe. Europeans believe that the Hamas casualty numbers are accurate and that mostly civilians were killed. They agree with the language of Israel being a genocidal apartheid country, even though it contradicts their opposition to Hamas and Iran. Top messages in Europe mostly echo what worked in the U.S., that Hamas fosters a culture of death and hate, celebrating atrocities, that the purpose of Hamas is to destroy all Jews and spread jihadism. They also question the alliance with the left, given the cultural anti-gay position of Iran and Hamas. 2 other key messages. The Jewish people need a homeland, and Hamas, at this point, should just give up. Most importantly, all countries showed significant shifts after the messaging, averaging over 20 points, especially once the situation in Gaza is resolved. The room for growth in all countries is very significant. This was from a leaked document, okay, that was commissioned by the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs to basically restructure how Israel needs to propagandize going forward. And one of their key findings was to just say Islamic barbarism and Muslims are a fucking plague on Europe, and try to tie that back to Israel is fighting the same battles that you're fighting on the home front. You have to keep this in mind when thinking about how aggressively the Islamophobia has been tuned up. Yeah, and they're doing it. Like, they're openly doing it. Eric Doherty, just in 2 major American cities are about to elect Muslim communists as mayor. Unreal. The consequences of being legally invaded. These cities are dooming themselves. 51,000 likes. And now with the purchase of TikTok, they can hammer on these messages over and over and over again until it fucking sticks. Meanwhile, messages like this, even though Ted Cruz misread, or Ted Cruz just simply read this and didn't even listen to the fucking video, okay, and is dunking on Zoran, gets 45,000 likes. Van's response, honestly, the fact that y'all don't get this auntie cousin thing just tells me that you guys are super elite, non-regular family having people. This is truly insanely ridiculous. Only 6,000 likes. That's it. Israel realizes that they cannot fucking defend Israel in the United States of America. Random moment from your stream where he broadly uses uncle.
How are we going to get people out? They were actually uncles from, not just from Queens, Bronx.
All the uncles got together.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no. You're a star. Yeah. It's so fucking stupid, man. And even white boys do it too nowadays, especially with like the TikTok, especially with like TikTok making it more, TikTok and AAVE flowing through TikTok in general. Unk is like a part of the common vernacular at this point. Like, I'm not actually Jason the Ween's real life uncle, but I call him my nephew. Okay? W nephew. W Unk. He's not literally my nephew. Okay? Yeah. I cannot believe we're having any fucking time. We're expending any sort of time litigating this. But that's the point. They make a big deal out of this shit, and then they push you to be on the defensive. And every moment that you spend defending the truth is another moment that they can chop away at the limited amount of time you have presenting a positive message. This happens all the time with like silly internet drama. It literally happens nonstop on the internet. And those tactics are being utilized in the political sphere, or they were being utilized in the political sphere, and now it's being utilized in the internet drama sphere. Because like, this is how Oppo works. This is how manufactured outrage works. Okay? So why not address it one time and move on? Because the media is playing a formative role in this. The media constantly brings it up. That's it. That's it. America's most important social thinker on Auntiegate.
I would say like 80% of ethnic groups are exactly the same, and everybody pretends like everyone's like, oh, we're always late. We eat a lot. We have guilt, and it's like that is everyone but WASPs. I think
this is quite literally the last third of my current hour. Is like that like everyone is the same because everyone says they value family and food, and they think they invented family. And we just like to get together, and it's not just family. Actually, it's relatives. Like
You know, a guy I thought was my uncle wasn't even related to me. It's like, most people are like that.
Or people are like, we call her an auntie. I'm like, I'm familiar.
I do think that is probably just how much like WASP culture is like dominant in, but it's like they are the outlier.
Can you explain what WASP means? It means white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. It is the most domineering culture in America. It is the people that designed this country. It is the people that have shaped the culture of this country. This shit is just like Collargate. They're throwing whatever they can to see what sticks. It's like going forward, every Zoran post will have 20 bots posting about his aunt. Exactly. The Tish family put 1.2 mil against Mamdani. Meet the billionaire spending over six figures to stop Zoran from becoming New York's next mayor. From Michael Bloomberg to Bill Ackman. I know, we covered this already. Like, this is not irrelevant, okay? This is not irrelevant. This is a major, major issue. Billionaires see the popular mandate that a guy like Zoran has, and they want to fucking stop it no matter what. This is not only like Collargate, it's every single Republican bred narrative. I know, that's why I didn't bring that up. I brought up the Obama tan suit controversy, okay? The Obama tan suit controversy is perfect. Now, obviously, that wasn't an election controversy, but birtherism is an election-related controversy that was unimaginably racist. And while Zoran is still up in the polls, this is just early panicking, but it means something, okay? I'm not saying it's over. I'm simply saying that the very fact that you can literally just dial up Islamophobia to such a degree and actually yield results like this in a campaign that is utterly devoid of policy prescriptions. Because Andrew Cuomo's campaign, name one policy of Andrew Cuomo's. I can give you two, and I've been paying close attention, okay? And that's the only reason why I can tell you two key policy proposals. 5,000 new cops for the NYPD, and making sure that Zoran Mamdani cannot live in a fucking rent, a adjusted rent apartment unit. Like evicting Zoran Mamdani and 5,000 more cops. That's it. That's not a fucking, that's literally not a, that's not a thing. It is utterly devoid of policy. It's just simply a fuck Zoran campaign. And all of the fuck Zoran initiatives up until this very moment have been an abject failure, with the exception of Islamophobia. The reason why he was able to cut the lead in some of these polls by 10 points is because Zoran is Muslim and he just keeps hammering the Islamophobia shit over and over again. And the more the uninitiated hear about that, the more the random people who are like, oh, there's a mayoral election, let me tune in now. The more they hear about that, the more they go, ooh, maybe this guy will do 9/11. Okay? That's it. This is the time where Zoran has to lock the fuck in and just stick to the messaging. This is the most important part of his campaign in terms of messaging discipline. Coasting on previous popularity won't work at all, because this is where the actual voters are coming into play. The broad majority of voters who have not been paying too close attention to what the fuck's going on. This is where, if you live in New York, you got to fucking get your parents and your grandparents to go out and vote for Zoran Mamdani. Okay? That's it. This is where you have to canvass extra hard. It's not a time to feel like Zoran is going to coast to victory. Okay? Not at all. You have to be playing as though he's down 10 points, not up 20. Okay? New York City Democratic mayoral nominee Zoran Mamdani holds a commanding lead over former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is running as an independent, according to a poll released 1 week before Election Day. The 5-day Manhattan Institute survey, which closed Sunday, shows Mamdani leading with 43% of likely voter support, followed by Cuomo's 28% and Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa's 19%. Around 8% were undecided. This is a good poll that came out for Zoran, but it doesn't matter. There are a bunch of bad polls. Like, even in the bad polls, he's still leading by 10. But the very fact that Andrew Cuomo seemingly could cut 10 points into Zoran's commanding lead after not really presenting anything new or unique beyond talking about how Zoran Mamdani is a Mohammedan terrorist is a little worrisome. Okay? We haven't watched the Zoran Daily Show interview yet. Well, we will, obviously. Yeah, this was the bad one. Cuomo cuts Mamdani's lead by 10 points after Adams' exit. In a Suffolk University poll conducted around the same time, Mamdani's lead over Cuomo was more narrow, with 44% to Cuomo's 34%. Sliwa followed with 11%. Early voting is underway in New York City, and the ballot, which still includes candidates like incumbent Mayor Eric Adams, who have suspended their campaigns, cannot be altered. But the Manhattan Institute survey still asks voters about the hypothetical head-to-head matchups. Between just Mamdani and Cuomo, the gap narrows, but Mamdani maintains his edge, 44% to 40%. In a hypothetical matchup with Sliwa, Mamdani leads 47% to 33%. Mamdani has focused his campaign on affordability, proposing programs such as free buses, which he says would be paid for by increasing tax on the wealthiest New Yorkers and raising the corporate tax rate. He also is focused on crime prevention, saying the city has relied on police to deal with the failures of our social safety net. Despite Mamdani's commanding lead of the new poll, New York City residents are less convinced by some of his practical proposals. A majority of respondents in the poll oppose making all New York City buses fare-free. Asked to select the statement closest to their view, 58% agreed that making buses free for everyone sounds nice, but it would make things worse in practice. It would turn buses into rolling shelters for homeless people and drug addicts, invite more crime and antisocial behavior, and leave even less money to fix the slow and unreliable service. Except it hasn't happened in the pilot program. That's what's so crazy about it. Like, the solution to this fear-mongering is just simply to point to the pilot program that Zoran actually pushed. It was an immense success. A third of the respondents, meanwhile, selected the following statement. Bus service should be fast and free, universally accessible. Eliminating fares will make public transit more affordable and efficient for working New Yorkers while reducing conflicts between riders and operators. Asked about the fare evasion on subways, 60% of respondents said allowing the practice to go unchecked invites more crime and freeloading, while enforcing payment helps maintain order and safety. Only 30% said fare evasion is mostly harmless and should not be policed aggressively, and that enforcement criminalizes poverty. And you have to remember, like, fast and free buses literally already exist in other cities around the United States of America. That's what's so nutty about this. The working class is so fucking right-wing, it's crazy. No, man. The working class is just heavily propagandized. In the absence of any sort of counter messaging from the left on issues such as this one, of course, the only thing they hear is stabbings happening on buses by crazy homeless people. And when they see homeless people on the street fucking screaming and shit, they go, oh my God, crime is out of fucking control. What is fast? Buses with racing stripes and a spoiler. Exactly. Yeah, in ski towns, all public transportation is free all over America. Not a singular problem there. Yeah, because, you know, white people are going out to ski. Anyway, New Yorkers were more inclined to support raising the corporate tax rate on business at the state level in order to pay for new social programs. In New York City's 53% supported it, while 39% opposed it. Okay? It's easy to make someone more racist, but not more anti-capitalist. Yes, that is by design. Just like it's literally a million times easier to make people anti-Semitic rather than making them anti-Israel from an anti-imperialist framework. Okay? That's it. Americans are super duper tuned in to racialized messages. It's so easy to get them to be on board with the anti-Israel message by just simply being anti-Semitic. It's much easier to do that.
Literally
100%.
everyone else on Earth behaves the exact same way.
Anyway, just like it's much easier to engage in Islamophobic narratives rather than try to make people pro-Israel or even pro-Jewish at this point, right? That false conflation is stuck in the minds of many people. Is the stream getting brigaded? Why is it in 3-month only, follower only mode? What do you think? Yes, like all the time. Nonstop. Wait, what is this? Ben a minute.
If you've been online for the past
infiltrated the Groyper army. Stud, by the way. Ben a minute. Stud. We'll look at that later. How is he going to make the buses faster? He's just going to tell the people to put the pedal to the metal. No, fast and free buses means more buses, more bus lines. That's it. Yeah, they're gonna put racing stripes on the side of the buses. Yeah. Bus lanes could be one way to do that. Dedicated bus lanes could be one way to do that, and having more buses as well. Also, when you no longer have fare to worry about at the point of entry, that also automatically makes the buses faster too. And also, obviously, the thing that we are refusing to reckon with here, which is racing stripes. Everybody knows racing stripes actually make cars faster. This was also another thing that I saw that people were like yelling about, which I think is really funny. This goes back to the classic, name one thing that Zoran has ever said that is remotely anti-Semitic. And everything that people find and everything that people point to is not anti-Semitic at all. And it's just a basic, accurate reflection of reality of Israel's relationship with like the American law enforcement, for example. Let's hear what Zoran is saying here. Okay. This is pretty bad. Really getting into Jewish conspiracy type stuff here, says Kathy Young. Soviet-born Jewish American gal, voice of reason against the madness, lover of otters, bulwark online, Reason Magazine, Newsday, etc. Let's take a look.
The importance for me of international solidarity is that it takes me out of the American political landscape and reminds me just how tame some of the things are that I'm actually calling for. And it reminds me of the necessity of grounding ourselves in the struggles as opposed to the fights around the struggles. For anyone to care about these issues, we have to make them hyperlocal. We have to make clear that when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. We're in a country where those connections abound, especially in New York City. You have so many opportunities to make clear.
Bars, by the way, is literally true. Hey, why the fuck is there a Tel Aviv NYPD station, bro? Why does the NYPD have a headquarters in Tel Aviv? Why is it that the IDF, post 9/11, has trained virtually every single law enforcement precinct in this fucking country, all the way down to goddamn Iowa, for counterterrorism initiatives? Why does Israel have a birthright program for cops? Not Jewish cops, just cops. Why? And when you actually bring that up, people go, wow, anti-Semitic much? It's like, brother, I didn't design this complex web, okay? Neither did you. I'm simply reflecting on the reality, and you're mad that I'm doing it. Yeah. There is a word for this kind of twisted fear-mongering and conspiratorial thinking. Anti-Semitism is Jonathan Greenblatt. ADL considered scrapping its U.S. police training trips to Israel, decided not to. After defending the program at the height of 2020 anti-brutality protests, the anti-racism organization is now admitting that an internal memo questioned their ethicality. The only bad thing about this clip is that he will answer now if pressed about it. Yeah, but that's not a bad thing. Because remember, Islamophobia works against Zoran Mamdani. But accusations of anti-Semitism, especially when he's simply talking about Israel, and any sort of reflection on anti-Israel sentiment is good for Zoran Mamdani. So if they actually hammer this point on, not to give any fucking tips and tricks to the Zoran haters that are probably crawling all over this goddamn stream on a daily fucking basis, but anytime they bring up shit like that, he actually looks better because people go, wait, that is weird. You have, like, this is why I tell you all the time, like, some of the things that have been perceived as a normal part of American politics are actually insane to the average normie. When the average normie finds out that the NYPD actually works closely with the Israeli occupational forces, they go, what the fuck? That's crazy. When the average normie finds out about the fact that in 38 states, you have to literally sign a promise note that you will never protest against the state of Israel to get a job, and you can be fired from your job for ever saying anything mean about a foreign state. They go, what the fuck? Hello? You can say fuck America all day, every day in these states, but you can't say fuck Israel and retain your job. Isn't that crazy? It's true. It's literally fucking true. Yeah, hard to know who he hates more, the cops or the Jews. Pray for New York City. None of these assholes, why American police departments get counter-terrorism training from the How hasn't the antibodies legislation been overturned by the courts yet? You mean anti-BDS? Yeah, here it is, bro. Here it is, brother. Look, look, look. With whom are many U.S. police departments training? With a chronic human rights violator, Israel. This is from August 25th, 2016. Amnesty International. When the U.S. Department of Justice published a report August 10th, 2016, that documented widespread constitutional violations, discriminatory enforcement, and culture of retaliation within the Baltimore Police Department, there was a rightly general reaction of outrage. But what hasn't received as much attention is where Baltimore received training on crowd control, use of force, and surveillance. Israel's National Police, Military, and Intelligence Services. What? What? Interesting. Interesting. This was something that I brought up during Black Lives Matter, to which Ben Shapiro retweeted someone calling me anti-Semitic doing blood libel, to which I replied with, I guess the Jewish Virtual Library is doing blood libel, if you remember. When I talked about kettling and corralling as a practice of crowd control and how the IDF had trained U.S. police departments after 9/11 and taught them the practice of kettling and corralling. Ben Shapiro had the audacity to claim that was blood libel. Blame the Jews, it's blood libel. The tactics haven't changed. Just to remind you, is it anti-Semitism? Dugat. Anyway. The NYPD has an office in Kfar Saba, Israel, as a part of its international liaison program, by the way. Operational since 2012, for you guys that don't know. That's also true. I'm going to post that as well. Hold on. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't see your whole setup for Halloween. Alberta just used notwithstanding clause to force teachers back to work, a first in Canadian history. Nice. Everything is just getting everything is getting worse and worse. Yeah, here's the birthright for cops. A 13-member delegation of New York area police chiefs and commissioners visited Israel this week under a program run by the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs dubbed the Birthright for American Police Chiefs. ADL bragging about how many cops they send to Israel, page 23. Meeting the moment, their 2016 annual report. Page 28. ADL meeting the moment every day. 100% of major U.S. metropolitan police departments have sent participants to ADL's National Counterterrorism Seminar in Israel and ADL's advanced training schools in extremist and terrorist threats. 100% of major U.S. metropolitan police departments. Isn't that fucking nuts? 15,000 law enforcement professionals receive comprehensive in-depth training from ADL on counterterrorism, extremist threats, core values, anti-bias, leadership, and hate crimes each year. Yep. We've been saying this. That's why, I mean, ironically enough, what Zoran is saying here is literally, a lot of people think when we bring up Israel or have an international framework that we operate off of, people tend to think that it takes you away from domestic issues, not realizing that Israel plays a formative role in the police violence that people experience on U.S. soil. And then these guys just turn around and go, ooh, you hate Jews and you hate cops, blah, 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 all this shit. It's bullshit. Israel is deeply intertwined with American domestic affairs, unlike any other country on the planet. Okay, there is no comparison. So yes, when we are criticizing Israel, we are criticizing a piece of America. I mean, I don't think so, but even if this was the opposite of his campaign rhetoric about focusing on New York City, now some global struggle. Wait, what? Even if Zoran has deprogrammed himself from this type of communist activist rhetoric on the campaign, which is good, man. But what's up? All right. Zoran wants to implement a pro-Israel curriculum in public schools to counter anti-Semitism. A pro-Israel curriculum? Wait, what the fuck?
Calls this
Mamdani, an anti-Zionist, is now supporting a curriculum that defines Zionism as the right to Jewish self-determination and says an important aspect of Jewish identity is a connection to Israel. What the fuck? Oh, God. He's going to get fucking clobbered regardless. Nah, there's no way. I don't believe that. I mean, this is a JD Forward reporter. It's from Forward Magazine. I'll look into it, but I highly doubt that they would do such a thing. Like, do I believe that he will spend time on anti-Semitism initiatives and things of that nature? Certainly, but here, I'll listen to what he has to say. Mamdani says as part of his counter anti-Semitism is implementing an existing curriculum in public schools system called the Hidden Voices that would celebrate the breadth and the beauty of Jewish life in our city's history. I don't think that's what the Hidden Voices curriculum is about, but I could be wrong. Worth Googling the check. Yeah, I'm sure Forward is the Forward article is probably leaning heavily into the pro-Israel sentiment that is within the Hidden Voices existing curriculum, which is ironic because this is something that we talk about quite a bit, where the Jewish identity at the national front in the United States of America has been deliberately has been deliberately turned into one that is directly tied to Israel. So even in an instance where you're talking about like celebrating Jewish voices, there will still be celebrating Jewish American voices in New York City. There will still be something that's like pro-Israel in it.
To be a mayor, not just for those who vote for me, but for anyone who calls the city home. And one of the things that I've appreciated most in these last few months is building on the outreach we were doing in the primary and having more conversations with Jewish leaders, with rabbis, with elected officials, to speak about the importance of rooting out anti-Semitism across the 5 boroughs and the different ways in which you actually do so. Because there's far more talk about it and far less actual plans for how you will do anything about it. And so we have made clear that we're not just going to increase funding for hate crime prevention programming by 800%. We're not just going to ensure that NYPD continues to be outside of synagogues and temples on high holy days. We're also going to actually implement a curriculum called Hidden Voices that would celebrate the breadth and the beauty of Jewish life in our city's history. Because we have to both teach our young and ensure that we protect our old all at once in this city. And I'm looking to not just protect Jewish New Yorkers, but frankly, to celebrate them and to cherish them here in this city.
What kind of program is that? Did you start it?
Which one?
You said whatever you called it.
Hidden Voices?
Yeah, Hidden Voices.
That's an existing curriculum that
Okay.
just hasn't actually been implemented.
Yeah.
And this is the other part of it, is that in politics, there's a tendency to treat everything that came before.
Hyping up New York Jewish life isn't bad. No, JD, the Jewish Forward, or not Jewish Forward, Forward Magazine, okay, JD Forward on Twitter, is a Jewish lifestyle magazine that, of course, much like all of the other, like Jewish Insider and all these other like magazines, play a big role in hyping up pro-Israel sentiment.
In politics, there's a tendency to treat everything that came before you as something you got to throw out. There are a lot of great ideas that are already there in city government, in this city. They just haven't had someone with the political will to actually deliver on them.
So what they are saying, what Forward Magazine is saying, okay, what Forward Magazine is saying is that if the Hidden Voices curriculum at any point has anything related to Israel, then they're going to greatly overemphasize it to make it seem like Zoran is going back on his previous anti-Zionist tendencies, anti-Zionist leanings. Okay? That's it. They're doing exactly what you said earlier. Right-wing clippers exploiting leftist morality to swing the narrative. It doesn't matter if the clip doesn't match the text. Yeah. So if you look at the actual, I don't know enough about the Hidden Voices thing, right? Reviewed by Forward teaches students in kindergarten through 12th grade about Jewish Americans in the U.S. history and defines Zionism as the right of Jewish national self-determination in their ancestral homeland. So that's the thing. Like, there is I suspect that even if there's like a brief moment anywhere in the Hidden Voices text that mentions Israel at all, Forward Magazine is using that as an opportunity to say, oh yeah, it's like, you know, this is it. The curriculum isn't exclusively about Israel or Judaism. I know. Yet, at the mayoral debate last Thursday, Mamdani said he would have a mayor who actually delivers on the implementation of Hidden Voices curriculum in our school system. Mamdani reiterated that position on Sunday on ABC's Up Close with Bill Ritter, saying the curriculum would celebrate the breadth and beauty of Jewish life in the city's history. What does the curriculum say about Israel? The curriculum says an important aspect of Jewish American identity is a connection to Israel, citing a 2023 statistic from the Pew Research Center that 82% of Jewish adults in the United States said caring about Israel is an essential or important part of what being Jewish means to them. It notes that for millennia, Jews have directed their prayers towards Jerusalem and continue to do so. The curriculum points to traditions like concluding the Passover Seder with next year in Jerusalem as evidence of Jews' enduring connection to Israel. Many Jewish Americans have family and friends in Israel, again reinforcing the familiar concept of Jews around the world as am a people, the curriculum reads. At the same time, the curriculum acknowledges that Jews are not a monolith and hold a range of opinions about Israel. The Jewish figures profiled exhibit a range of attitudes about Zionism and the state of Israel, from passionate support to disengagement to harsh criticism, the curriculum says. For example, the curriculum notes that a businessman and a progressive philanthropist, Julius Rosenwald, did not support Zionism. It also says that Jewish students bring a range of feelings and opinions about Israel to the classroom. They should be allowed to develop those ideas and speak for themselves. I don't think that's what the Hidden Voices curriculum is about, but I could be wrong. Worth Googling the check. Yeah, Forward is probably greatly overemphasizing what the Hidden Voices curriculum actually is. The Hidden Voices curriculum itself most likely has nothing to do with Israel whatsoever and everything to do with American Jews, okay? And yet, I think this is it. And yet they are trying to say that Zoran is. I think the reason why they're fucking saying that is because they want to make it seem as though Zoran is fake. Okay, he's not. He is. They want to make it so that you, anti-Zionists, that hear this go, oh, he is betraying the anti-Zionist cause. Okay, that's it. Collectively, these profiles clearly show the question of Jewish nationhood has long been central to the diaspora. So, too, does this group exhibit a range of attitudes about Zionism and the state of Israel, from passionate support to disengagement. Yeah, they did that. They did the thing that I'm doing right now, okay, which is they key searched Israel and Zionism and then took choice quotes, and then they turned around and said, see, this is a pro-Israel document, which, of course, it is, for the record, of course, because since 1948, every document that pertains to Jews living anywhere around the world, but especially in the United States of America, will connect them to the state of Israel. Even if the document itself is not like overwhelmingly pro-Israel or shows a wide scope of dissenting opinions amongst Jews, which is fair to put in an educational document, okay? Like the best you're ever going to get is like some document that is agnostic to Israel when reflecting on American Jews and their opinions. Okay, this of course is not going to win any favors with the voters in New York that are only worried about Zoran's attitudes against Israel. It's not going to work at all, and at most, it will make people suspicious. Like this guy, he says, if it's a curriculum that's not already implemented and not really well known, why is he going out of his way to talk about implementing it? Because he's trying to neutralize the anti-Semitism allegations. Duh. What the fuck do you think? What do you think? Why do you think he's doing that? Also because anti-Semitism is a real problem too? Yes. But it's not like a major point of contention if we're being fucking like when you match up anti-Semitism in New York City versus what is going on in the race, even the way that people are talking about anti-Semitism and weaponizing anti-Semitism in a way that is Islamophobic versus the open, transparent Islamophobia that you've seen in this race from people who are participating in it, from Andrew Cuomo all the way to fucking Curtis Lewa. I feel like there's a major asymmetry here, don't you think? That's it. Yeah, Hidden Voices is not just about Judaism. Hidden Voices is about all minority populations. Only one of their many programs has anything to do with Jews. Yeah. The mistake in this situation is when you use this as a, I mean, I don't think this will be a major point of contention for anybody really, but the mistake here is that then people will turn around and say, well, you don't believe Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish ethno-state, but the document that you're presenting clearly defines Zionism as a Jewish homeland. And I guess he can still turn around and say, yeah, you can have it as a Jewish homeland as long as you also have equal rights and equal representation for non-Jews. No, it's not a one-like tweet. It's a reporter from Forward magazine promoting their article that no one read. Okay. Just for clarity, the idea of training U.S. forces part is factual. My point is, out of the broader argument he is making in the treatise about the need to see issues with the NYPD in the context of global struggle against capital is correct. And his current campaign rhetoric is in line with that change. He's still trying to justify it. Tim Miller, while simultaneously acknowledging that what he is saying is completely correct. It's awesome. My coworker's asking if we can listen to something other than Hasan stream at work just for a day. No. The answer is no. Open. Wait. What the hell? Open presents. Thank you for the 25 gifted subs. Tell your coworker no. It's time to get woke. It's time to get wokeified. All right, let's continue.
Now just a week away, Andrew Cuomo is now gaining some ground on frontrunner Zoran Mamdani, according to one new poll. And early voting numbers are on the rise compared to 4 years ago, with older voters outnumbering younger voters so far. Christina Fan has the latest.
Zoran Mamdani refusing to grow complacent, campaigning on a radio station Tuesday morning while still leading his competitors by double digits.
We never trust the polls. We go out there and earn every vote ourselves. That's what we got to do the next 7 days so we can be the next mayor of New York City.
The most recent poll by Suffolk University Boston does show Cuomo closing in, cutting Mamdani's 20-point lead by half. The Democratic Socialist is at 44, Cuomo 34, Curtis Sliwa 11.
I encourage a continued turnout. The people will choose it. Not the billionaires, not the insiders, not the influencers who have been wrong every step of the way.
More than 223,000 New Yorkers have cast their ballots in the first 3 days of early voting. An analysis shows a dramatic age shift. Voters over 50 far outnumber younger ones who helped propel Mamdani to his dominant win over Cuomo in the Democratic primary.
There's anger in this city. There's frustration in this city. It's all percolating, and you can feel it out there.
Political analysts say the person with the most influence in the final days of this race is Curtis Sliwa, who refuses to back out. When his supporters were asked who their second choice is for mayor, 36% said Cuomo, 2% Mamdani. Reporting from Jackson Heights in Queens, Christina Fan, CBS News, New York.
Be sure to stay with CBS News New York for the latest heading up to Election Day. For more information on early voting, including polling hours and locations, you can head to our website, CBS New York.
At this point, would it be too hypocritical for Sliwa to drop out? I don't think he will. I hope he doesn't. Anyway, analysis of what a new poll shows in the New York City mayoral race. In one poll, older voters so far, a lot of qualifiers that make a statement like Cuomo's surging. It's still worrisome. It's worrisome, and the Zoran campaign is using it as a way to get people to lock in and not feel comfortable about their victory. Okay?
All right, we are 1 week away from Election Day. The race for mayor entering its final stretch. And Election Day approaching quickly next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, all right. Early voting getting underway over the weekend, and some of the early numbers could spell a change in the wind for our candidates, depending. Good day's Robert Moses is here now with the very latest. Robert, what's going on?
Dan and Tashani, at this exact moment, 1 week from today, we will be talking about how polls have just opened here in the city in the most consequential election the city has seen in recent memory. It's a race the whole country is watching. Last night, Zoran Mamdani appeared on The Daily Show.
Are you going back to New York City for Election Day? I was planning on it, but I have so much fucking travel that I don't know if I can swing it. Because, like, right after, I have to be in D.C., and then right after, I have to fly to China. So it's the difference between, like, being away for 20 days versus being away for, like, 30-plus days.
Ted Cruz is with us. Senator, great to have you. This is a full takeover. I think Bill Maher is right. What are your thoughts?
We're going to get to Hurricane Melissa after this.
Prisons are set up in our society. I would argue that they do not work. They do not make us safer. The instinct is to just take that person, the source of that harm, the source of that issue, and then just throw them away. Put them in.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I mean, I know what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that he believes that prisons should be abolished. But it's pretty basic. It's pretty basic stuff. He's just saying that prisons do not actually rehabilitate people and reintegrate them into society. They're just a way to, like, discard some of the most underserved, underprivileged people.
Put them in a cage and throw away the key. And that doesn't address the reason why that harm was created in the first place. A lot of times, people who create trauma for others are those who themselves went through trauma earlier in their own lives.
Right.
And I bring all of this up to say that, you know, again, like when we talk about policing, I don't think the system actually makes us safer. I think what it does is it just removes problems out of view.
Yeah. That fuck-ass watermark? Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's right, 100%. But once again, being right doesn't matter. If the overwhelming majority position on shit is wrong, then being right doesn't matter. The best you can do is try to reframe the conversation in a way that people will be more open-minded to your position. A fundamental fact that a lot of left advocates forget, which is that just because you are correct doesn't mean other people will reflect on your words. Okay? That's why one must always remember the educational journey that they went through. For some, it's not as big as a swing as going from right to socialism. Okay, maybe some were liberals and then they found themselves in the throes of socialist literature. But for many others, this is, once again, something that they've been aggressively propagandized against. So you have to do your very best to reframe the language in a way that is more appropriate for people to accept. That's it.
Look, I think the Democrat Party has lost their minds. I got to say, I was amused listening to AOC say, we're not crazy, we're sane. It reminded me of an old friend of mine who talked about what she called bimbo eruptions, which is whenever anyone says, I am not a bimbo, what does everyone think? You're a bimbo. When Richard Nixon said, I am not a crook, all of America said, you know what? He's a crook. In this instance, when AOC stands up and says, we're not crazy, the rest of America says, you're crazy. And methinks she doth protest too much.
Yeah, just like when Ted Cruz says, I'm not a racist, everybody knows you definitely are. I'm not the Zodiac killer. Everybody's like, okay, well, that's what the Zodiac killer would say. There is a little bit of a truth in what Ted Cruz is saying here. It's not wrong. When you do find yourself on the defense, when you do find yourself defending ridiculous slanders and smears, people end up, I mean, you offer legitimacy to it. But of course, no one is ever going to ask Ted Cruz, especially on Fox News, how that works with Donald Trump running around being like, I'm not racist. I'm not a dictator. I'm not Jeffrey Epstein's best friend who has been routinely pictured with Jeffrey Epstein, who is my best friend, you know?
Look at Comrade Mamdani, and that's how I call him, as Comrade Mamdani. It is amazing to see New Yorkers vote for someone who is an open communist. He's not a socialist. He's a communist. He's talking about government seizing the means of production. He's talking about massive tax increases and putting the government in charge of the economy. And he is a jihadist. This is someone who went and...
By the way, I mean, I fucking wish. I mean, how could he do that in the New York mayoral race? I don't know, but could you imagine? Oh, centrally planned economy in the United States of America, a robust industrial base, reshoring initiatives, good wages, more worker control, more autonomy in the workplace, all under the directive of a Democratic Party.
Did a photo op with an unindicted co-conspirator.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Hasan, Ted hates communists. They tortured his father, except they were not communists. It was Batista who tortured his father, ironically enough. Him and Marco Rubio both. Him and Marco Rubio both constantly fucking do that. Bro, you're clickbaiting? You mean you wish he was a communist, not a jihadist? Wait, what? Is that what he said? I was talking about... What would jihad have anything to do with central planning? Chatters. Clip culture gonna cook you, bro. Please. Famous aspect of a jihad is when you do central planning, a central planned economy. Wait, what the fuck? Is there a blip? Doesn't matter. It's all over Facebook now. Okay, guys, stop begging for the fucking clips to come, please.
Sir, of the World Trade Center bombing. This is someone who his reaction from 9/11 is not the 3,000 people who were murdered, not the NYPD officers and the New York Fire Department officers who charged into the flames and lost their lives. It was his auntie apparently felt bad. This is dangerous. And I got to say, Sean, you know, there's some Republicans who are saying, OK, good. Let them elect a communist in New York. That's going to help Republicans across the country. I got to say I'm not in that camp. New York is an incredibly important American scene. It is the center of finance in America. It is the center of much of media in America. And having one of the most important American cities controlled by a whacked out leftist. And by the way, the whole party has now lined up behind this commie jihadist. And so I am hoping there is some reservoir of common sense in New York that says, let's not go that far. You're right. New Jersey is encouraging. I think we can win the gubernatorial race in New Jersey. And I think Virginia, look, Virginia, what's on the ballot there, you've got their AG candidate who in writing mused about how much he wants to murder the children or see the children of his political opponents.
Yeah, if these guys were so stoked about Zoran's electoral victory and what it means for the future of the Democratic Party, if the Democratic Party was forced to reckon with the left populist flank and run more leftist candidates, and how that would have down-ticket consequences for the National Party, a negative down-ticket consequence for the National Party, then they wouldn't be crying about Zoran this hard. They would be excited. They would literally say, oh, Zoran's going to be great. Love it. You know, they would say, oh, we don't like any Democrat, but if they chose Zoran, they chose Zoran, right? Except Donald Trump literally wants Andrew Cuomo to win the New York mayoral race. Okay? Donald Trump has actively tried to throw hurdles in the direction of the New York mayoral race, claiming if Zoran wins, he's going to cut funds to New York. Like, that is insane. Obviously, if they truly weren't worried and if they were excited at the prospect of Zoran becoming a face of the Democratic Party, they wouldn't be going this crazy against them.
Murdered. That is extreme and radical. And I got to say, I believe in a reservoir of common sense in our country.
All right. So his father's quoted in the New York Post as saying that Nazis took their cues from the United States, history of genocide, ethnic cleansing, official racism and concentration camps. Linda Sassour, you know, that radical. You mentioned this imam that he's friends with.
Yeah, Linda Sarsour is another key figure here that they're talking about. They're trying to get Zoran to sister soldier like all of these people, myself included. Ironically enough, they can't, like, it's not really working that much. But what's crazy about this, okay, they're referencing this clip about his dad, for the record. If you actually listen to what he says, you can find every detail here on Wikipedia. None of this is controversial among people who've read books. If you want to describe it as the root of all evil, that's on you. Mahmoud Mamdani here is only laying out facts, not judgment.
America is the genesis of what we call settler colonialism. And the American model was exported all around the world. Abraham Lincoln generalized the solution of reservations. They herded American Indians into separate territories. For the Nazis.
By the way, this is not even remotely controversial in academia, but that is the problem. Dude, look at that one little light that is just hitting Kaya in the face. Just one little beam of light. That's so funny. This clip is wild. My dad acted outraged at such a ridiculous notion that I sent him a breath of hard academic evidence of Hitler's 1928 speech where he said this, and he was like, America's not evil, just moving the goalposts and reiterating into his shell. Yeah. What's so fucking crazy is, like, this is a crisis of intelligence. This is a crisis of critical thinking. That's what's going on here, where we look to people whose primary function is educating the masses, people who are infinitely better read than the average person, talking about something that they know a million times more about. And we just go, how dare you say this thing that is objectively the truth? It is not a secret that the Nazis looked to America for advice, looked to America for what to do. That is just the objective truth. And yet, when you state historical facts, because the overwhelming majority of people now do not give a fuck about historical facts at all, and instead think about their own personal feelings, there is significant motion in these kinds of counter narratives being launched against the candidate whose father is an academic.
This was the inspiration. Hitler realized two things. One, that genocide was doable. It is possible to do genocide. That's what Hitler realized. Second thing Hitler realized is that you don't have to have a common citizenship. You can differentiate between people. The Nuremberg laws were patterned after American laws. Anyway, the U.S. put Indians in reservations. The U.S. invented the model.
Isn't most of Americans uneducated enough to fall to this hook, line, and sinker? Yes. This is historically correct information. That's what's so crazy about it. That is what's so fucking crazy about it. Zoran Mamdani's father, America's the root of all evil and inspiration for the Nazis. First of all, you said that. He didn't say that. He said it was the genesis. The American reservation structure was the genesis for the Nazis. And it's literally openly talked about in Nazi texts. He notes that in Mein Kampf, Hitler, Hitler praises America as the one state that has made progress towards primarily racial conception of citizenship by excluding certain races from naturalization. Whitman writes that the discussion of such influences is almost taboo because the crimes of the Third Reich are commonly defined as the nefandum, the unspeakable descent into what we often call radical evil. But the kind of genocidal hatred that erupted in Germany had been seen before and has been seen since. Only by stripping away its national regalia and comprehending its essential human form do we have any hope of vanquishing it. That concept is precisely what makes it impossible for Zionists to contend with their own fascism, okay? The unspeakable descent into what we often call radical evil is precisely the reason why people still to this day, when you say, well, Israel behaves exactly like Nazi Germany, they freak the fuck out. They're like, how dare you say that? It's the vast literature on Hitler and Nazism keeps circling around a few enduring questions. The first is biographical. How did an Austrian watercolor painter turned military orderly emerge as a far-right German rabble-rouser after the First World War? The second is socio-political. How did a civilized society come to embrace Hitler's extreme ideas? The third has to do with the intersection of man and regime. To what extent was Hitler in control of the apparatus of the Third Reich? All these questions point to the central enigma of the Holocaust, which has variously been interpreted as a premeditated action and as a barbaric improvisation. Those are the two mainline schools of thought about the Holocaust. Was the final solution always supposed to be the final solution, or was it brought about as conditions worsened for Nazi Germany in the battle lines? Okay? In our current age of unapologetic racism and resurgent authoritarianism, the mechanics of Hitler's rise are a particularly pressing matter. For dismantlers of democracy, there is no better exemplar. Since 1945, the historiography of Nazism has undergone several broad transformations, reflecting political pressures both within Germany and abroad. This was the other part. From boyhood on, Hitler devoured the westerns of the popular German novelist Karl May. In 1928, Hitler remarked approvingly that white settlers in America had gunned down the millions of redskins to a few 100,000. When he spoke of Lebensraum, the German drive for living space in Eastern Europe, he often had America in mind, Manifest Destiny. Among recent books on Nazism, the one that may prove most disquieting for American readers is James Q. Whitman's Hitler's American Model, the United States and the Making of a Nazi Race Law. On the cover, the inevitable swastika is flanked by two red stars. Whitman methodically explores how Nazis took inspiration from American racism of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He notes that in Mein Kampf, Hitler praises America as the one state that has made progress towards... I read this part already. So what Mahmoud, Zoran's father, is saying there is objectively correct. It's just correct. And yet, in a world where truth does not matter. In a world where truth does not matter, you can take an objectively correct statement such as this one, an accurate reflection of historical events, and the roles that the American racialized structure of nationality played in Hitler's very own design in the aftermath, in a post-Nuremberg race law world for Germany. You can just say, how dare you, and then move on. And people will go along with it. It is fucking insane to me. This is why I often bring up that one Jewish professor of anti-colonial history that was suspended recently. And he was suspended because there was a literal Unit 8200 IDF veteran in his class that was not only harassing the students, but filming them. Okay? And why was he doing that? Because the Israel Knesset grant-funded Canary Mission had singled him out alongside Congressperson Richie Torres. Remember, this is a Jewish American professor of anti-colonial history. Why had they singled him out as an op, as someone that must be removed from their position in academia? Because he correctly said that Hamas is a national emancipatory resistance group that only operates within the confines of historic Palestine. That is the truth. We are supposed to be able to say the truth in classrooms, especially in fucking academia, in college campuses. What the fuck? It is crazy that these guys can just turn around and be like, oh, what you said is the truth, but it offends me and I don't like it. And there are plenty of people that go along with it because they've been propagandized into thinking, no, these are barbaric slaughter monsters. How dare you say that there is a logical through line to their acts of militant resistance? Genuine question, logs, please. Isn't most of Americans uneducated? My genuine question, and I hope I'm wrong, wouldn't all these attacks be effective against Zoran and make him lose the election? No. So far, this has been ineffective, or at least has had limited effect. If Zoran also wasn't Zoran Mamdani, a brown Muslim guy, and instead was a white boy whose white father was in academia, this wouldn't work at all. It's insane because, like your pal Matt Walsh, you've never actually studied history. You MAGA folks revel in your ignorance and then act shocked and call educated scholars like Mahmoud Mamdani insane. As Pulitzer Prize-winning author John Tolland notes in his book Adolf Hitler, Hitler's concept of concentration camps, as well as the practicality of genocide, owed so much, so he claimed, to his studies of English and United States history. He admired the camps for Boer prisoners in South Africa and for the Indians in the Wild West, and often praised, to his inner circle, the efficiency of America's extermination by starvation and uneven combat of the red savages who could not be tamed by captivity. Yeah, this is one of the most insane things I've ever heard, Dave Rubin says, and I say that as someone who used to work at the Young Turks. It's mind-boggling. This is not just a war against the truth. It's Republicans have successfully, and Americans by and large, it's not just Republicans, but like American elites have successfully waged war against critical thinking. And they've won. They've won. And you can tweak the algorithm like this so that Dave Rubin's post gets 37,000 likes and Mehdi Hasan's correction gets 3,000 likes. Do you understand? How do you deal with it? How do you deal with the false narratives that Republicans lean into? How do you deal with the largest swaths of American society putting their own personal feelings and what they've maybe half heard or half remembered from their shitty education? How do you put that against people who are invested in the truth? I don't know the answer to it, but I'm not going to stop. Abandon the site. We need to dump capitalist social media entirety. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Stop. Oh my God. I'm starting to get pissed off. Yes, dude. We must close our eyes and plug our ears to where people congregate, to where people talk to one another, because people are too stupid. We must actually cut our movement in half. We must actually do everything we can to gatekeep. Live in our own fucking commune. Self-isolation is not the answer to this, okay? You just have to keep fighting because you have no other option. That's it. You have to keep fighting wherever that battle may take, no matter how the institutional power is aligned against you. It doesn't fucking matter. There's nothing else you can do.
That was a character witness for the blind sheikh who was, convicted in the 93 World Trade Center bombing. This is a guy that for weeks and months on end would not condemn the call for global intifada. You heard the montage. He's offering pretty much everything for free, condemning billionaires as people that shouldn't exist, and pledging to confiscate wealth and raise taxes on everybody, and everything's going to be free. This is going to be a case study. Mar's right. And it's going to have great implications because he will not be able to fulfill those promises. The Obamacare promises never fulfilled. Social Security is going bankrupt. Government schools in most blue states and cities are crap. They failed miserably. Defund, dismantle, no bail, reimagine has failed miserably. Open borders has failed miserably. So
I would say we need a new app where the algo isn't abusive to the truth, not abandoning it, but competing against it. Brother, who? With whose money? On whose servers? Who's making this happen? Oh my God, this is where the blue sky truthers come out. Jesus Christ. Oh, people thinking Hassan radicalizes Chat. Meanwhile, Chat trying to radicalize him. No, they can't. They can't radicalize someone who is already a radical, but has a more pragmatic approach to what must be done. This is simply a difference in opinion in tactics and methods. That's all it is.
America's going to get to judge this. I think it may be a good thing in a weird way. Thought on that?
Yeah, look, what you just said there, that Bill Maher is right, that's something I don't say all that often. Although I got to say, I'm saying it more and more often because Maher is an old school liberal who actually believes in things like free speech, who doesn't want to see the Democrat Party become a communist party. And I think America is better when you have two parties that are somewhere reasonably near the middle and you can have disagreements. I don't think it's good for America when one of the two parties is absolutely nuts. You mentioned Comrade Mamdani's father. I played on my podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, today's entire...
So you see no value and we're going to make X irrelevant?
Podcast is on Mamdani and laying out his radical record. His father also said that Abraham Lincoln was the model for Adolf Hitler. Now, I want you to stop and think, how much do you hate America if you say that Adolf Hitler modeled his behavior after Abraham Lincoln? That is who Comrade Mamdani suckled after. And I'm just hoping, New Yorkers, we don't want to see an enormously important city run by someone who hates America, who blames, who thinks Lincoln and Adolf Hitler are comparable. I'm just praying that there's a moment of pulling back and saying, this doesn't make any sense, because the alternative is really bad for our country.
Let me ask you, J.D. Vance, the vice president, slammed Mamdani for making his auntie the real victim of 9/11.
Yeah.
I never saw him cry over the people that died that day or their families.
Brother, he was 9 years old. He was 9 years old. He was 9 years old on 9/11 in New York. If your attitude is that everyone in New York suffered on 9/11, then Zoran is a part of everyone. The problem is when these guys cynically say everyone suffered on 9/11, they don't mean everyone suffered on a 9/11. They don't think that Muslims are a part of the in-group, okay? Even a 9-year-old Muslim boy.
Not a word.
20 seconds.
Not a word. Look, not a word, and you should not be cheering on the jihadists who flew the planes into the buildings. You should be standing up for the people of New York, and Mamdani will not do that. I very much hope and pray he loses.
Okay, Senator, appreciate it.
Don't understand it. Why wouldn't you want him to win so that you can say the entire Democratic Party is like this? By the way, Ted Cruz, I know one person who was cheering on 9/11, or at least jorking his fucking penis on 9/11, and that man is Ted Cruz. That's what Ted Cruz was doing on 9/11, many years after the fact. But if you remember, he accidentally publicly liked porn on 9/11 a couple years ago. Yeah, so he did do that. That's how he was choosing to honor the memory of the fallen. Corey Chase incest porn, no less. Yep. He was fucking horny on Maine, dude. Yep. Ted Cruz Twitter account likes pornographic tweet. Married Texas senator who once defended a ban on sex toys asked to explain how his account came to like the graphic post. From sexual posts. Be careful showing this. I mean, it's censored. Obviously, it's on The Guardian, dude. Yeah. He was trying to raise a tower of his own. He was trying to erect. Your Honor, I was trying to erect my very own tower in honor. A little bit of porn-a-rooney on 9/11. Gets me going. Someone posted a screenshot of when Hasan changed his Twitter name to it too. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ted Cruz actually retweeted me once, and I changed my name to Ted Cruz liked porn on 9/11. Anyway, let's just continue. Let's get to some serious stuff. So we're going to be talking about Jamaica. Hurricane Melissa officially becomes strongest storm in the world this year, made landfall in Jamaica.
This morning, Hurricane Melissa on the cusp of slamming into West Jamaica. The monster Category 5, the strongest storm to ever hit the nation, bringing life-threatening winds up to 175 miles per hour, up to 40 inches of rain, and up to 13 feet of storm surge. At least 3 already killed during storm preps on the island. Sparks flying out of damaged power lines, residents hunkering down. Some American tourists trapped after all major airlines shut down, including Charleston, South Carolina resident Zykaelin Coley.
It's very nerve-wracking being stranded on the island. You don't know anybody.
Jonesboro, Arkansas residents Maritza Caver Blake and her husband were on the island celebrating their 10-year anniversary, now unable to get home to their 4- and 8-year-old kids.
We've been praying a lot. They were expecting their parents back on Sunday. We don't want to tell them Mommy and Daddy is stuck in another country.
Air Force hurricane hunters trying to fly into the eye of the storm, capturing this stunning video. The eye wall nearly vertical.
That's
the
insane.
turbulence so severe, they were forced to turn back. Now, authorities are begging everyone to stay indoors until this storm passes. All of the cleanup and rescue efforts are only going to begin once it's safe. Until then, Melissa is expected to have Jamaica in its grip for much of today. Robin?
All right. South Florida residents who are stuck in Jamaica right now.
And Local 10's Leah Morjon is at Miami International Airport as people were riding out the storm on the island nation. I know you've talked to a few people who say they were being, in their words, battered.
Yeah, sure. And I've spoken to folks who are not only travelers who were visiting Jamaica and are now stuck there, but also a woman who's riding out the storm in her vacation home with her family. She lives there. She used to be from here in South Florida, moved to Jamaica and has lived there full time for a few years now. But she says that they're really feeling the effects. And we'll get to that in just a second. But I want to show you why some folks happen to be stuck right now. And that's because of cancellations that are coming out of Montego Bay specifically. Kingston isn't getting it as bad, according to our meteorologist.
An interesting perspective on this hurricane. The
I was looking at updates to
tourists.
see how Jamaica's doing during like the hurricanes going on down there, and to my surprise, which really I shouldn't be surprised, I seen a whole bunch of Jamaican folks just having a great time. It's a dude like right on the shore, getting blasted by ocean water, talking about some bomba clot, and he's giggling his ass off. And then there's some other local folks playing.
Okay, but it's still not the smart thing to do, I think.
On his table while there's water up to their hips, damn near. And then another shorty just shaking ass. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, that's great. And I was having a great time until I seen like American tourists.
It's still dangerous for the record.
There. And
by the way, we've seen that. Florida. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? This is just another classic example that people are people everywhere. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. Florida. Okay? You see the Jamaican locals exhibiting the exact same tendencies that the local Floridians exhibit right before a catastrophic climate change baked event takes place.
It just drives home the fact that like how entitled some folks are and how ignorant people are. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like they're making like light of the situation and talk about, oh, it's a category 5. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's cool when the local people do it because they live there and that's a way for them to deal with like the fact that their islands getting flooded. You know what I mean? But like when it's these tourists that are coming in and being so disrespectful and not caring for real, it's fucking weird, bro. It really just shows that there's so many people out there that lack empathy and will make fun of anybody in any kind of situation, which like. I'm a jokey ass person, you know what I'm saying? But I know when to hold my tongue. I know when to hold my jokes back.
Watch the video of a meteorologist finding out live how catastrophic this is going to be.
And? 180 now. 180. What's the pressure?
Pressure, and this is Air Force flying into that.
Yeah, this is Adam Berg. He's giving me this
information.
Pressure
is now down to 896.
Oh, my Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, I'm going to hold it together here. So 896 millibars is stronger than Hurricane Milton when it made that run last year. Remember my viral moment last year? 50 millibars in 10 hours, right? It got down to 897 millibars. Now it turns out Melissa has broken or gone past Milton's record. So there's only one hurricane. There's only one hurricane in October and November in the Atlantic Basin that's ever been stronger. And that is Hurricane Wilma from 20 years ago. And by the way, Wilma was on dates earlier than the present date. Today's the 28th of October. So again, Melissa is the strongest hurricane so late in a hurricane season. So again, this is all history. It's all bad news, especially for Jamaica. And, I'll have a lot more to talk about some of what's driving this, what's producing these catastrophic hurricanes, because, by the way, this is the 4th major hurricane so far this year. 3 of the 4 major hurricanes have reached Category 4 and 5 status. 3 of the 4 or 4 of the 5? Anyway, a very large number. I think only...
Not good.
So we've seen flights delayed coming to and from that city, but Montego Bay, though, that one is a problem. You can see their flights have been canceled since yesterday. And one woman I spoke to from Houston says she's riding out the storm.
One of the biggest problems when hurricanes like this make landfall in Puerto Rico or Jamaica or other Caribbean islands, Caribbean nations, is that the infrastructure is not as robust to withstand such a powerful force of nature. Cuba is another example as well. Because the reality is that America, for all of its issues, for all of its failures, still has like at least a competent response. Usually, that's changing as well. We're privatizing FEMA. You already know. Having said that, however, there is at least a somewhat stronger infrastructure, even if our infrastructure is still dog shit. Somewhat stronger infrastructure than these other places that are much poorer. Also, when you're on an island, you don't really have a lot of places to go to other than higher elevation. People, like the Jamaican population, exist at the intersection of so many different forms of capitalist erosion, whether it be their government services and their infrastructure expenditure being destroyed by IMF initiatives that demand austerity and substitute what should be controlled by the government with private ownership, foreign capital in many instances that don't actually care to create the competent response necessary or to create the strong infrastructure necessary to survive these sorts of things because they have no care or consideration for the people. And a big part of the reason why these extreme once-in-a-lifetime weather events take place with regular frequency now is also because of the first world and its endless consumption, our carbon footprint.
In a hotel.
It's so disheartening because I feel like we had so much time to get out.
It was supposed to be a fun girls' trip for a group of friends out of Houston. But now that flights out of Montego Bay have been canceled, they can't come home, at least not yet.
It's actually getting really bad now compared to how it was earlier.
Deborah Shields showing us the view from her window at the Grand Palladium Resort in Lucy, about 24 miles west of Montego Bay. Shields and her friends now experiencing Hurricane Melissa from their hotel rooms.
It sounds like, you know, people when they tell ghost stories and they're like, whoo, it's a lot of that. And the door sounds like somebody's trying to break through it. I don't know if you could even hear it banging. It sounds like somebody's like grabbing a handle and trying to force their way in the door, but it's really just the wind.
As visitors hunker down, residents are too.
Decided to leave because we were hearing storm surges, you know, close to 10 feet. And so we figured it was better to be in higher ground.
Former South Florida resident Sherry Monroe lives in Freeport, Montego Bay, but evacuated with family to higher ground in Great River, Hanover.
Close to where my home is in Freeport, Montego Bay. That's also where my boats are docked. So I'm most worried about my house, but also worried about my boats, and my captains are actually on the boat riding out the storm.
The flapping awning behind her still holding on around 11 a.m. Eastern. By 1 p.m., she says it was gone and water was dripping from her ceiling.
So I was able to check in with Sherry just a couple of minutes ago. She says things are still getting worse. Her home that she's riding out the storm in has lost some windows. She says, quote, everywhere is leaking, but she says she's also heard from friends who did ride out the storm in Montego Bay, and that some of those folks have actually lost the roofs to their homes. She says that this is extremely devastating and that she's getting emotional just thinking about how much damage this would cause. And of course, she says that there are some loved ones at this point that she can't even get a hold of. In fact, the only reason that she's able to communicate with us is because she's got a generator and one of those Starlink satellites. Reporting live at MIA, Leanne Morejon.
Back here in the United States, the largest labor union of
Video from Montego Bay. Watch a gazebo collapse as conditions worsen in Montego Bay, Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa made landfall's Category 5 storm about 36 miles south of New Hope on Tuesday. Wait, why'd you say hashtag ad? Can I give you my update, please? Okay, go ahead, Stinky 19. It's time for the Stinky 19 weather report. Before we move on to the other man-made devastation caused by American Congress against the American working class, because they're waging a war as well. All right, Stinky, give it to me. Stinky 19. Didn't know Stinky was international. I'm sorry, chat. I'm on mobile, says Stinky. Stink it up. Yeah. You got to say, now we go to Stinky 19 for some crucial updates on Hurricane Melissa and how we got here. Stinky 19 is on mobile, so there is a significant delay. Melissa made landfall in southwestern Jamaica near New Hope at around 1 p.m. EDT as an extremely powerful Category 5 hurricane with max winds of 185 miles per hour and minimum pressure of 892 millibars. Okay. This is what 185 mile per hour winds sound like and what it looks like. Catastrophic and life-threatening winds, flash flooding, and storm surge are occurring on the island. Audio files just exploded. As of 6 p.m. EDT, Melissa is a Cat 4 with a maximum wind speed of 145 miles per hour with a minimum pressure of 921 millibars. It is weakened because it is now over land and no longer being fueled by water. Melissa is 10 miles east of Montego Bay, Jamaica, and is moving across the island at 8 miles per hour. 7 p.m. update incoming. We'll update when I have it. Thank you. Looks like the very rough ride was confirmed. Plane had to leave early. They reported SVR turb and a sawtooth eye. Looks like they moved 600, 700 feet up and down during the stretch in 1 minute, but they captured some historic data, including a 893 millibar center drop. Mission for the ages. Nice. I showed the video from where the landfall happened. And now back to American devastation brought about by our congressional leaders and their lack of interest in funding healthcare. For those of you who don't know, wait, oh, is there more? Oh, shit, sorry. I didn't realize Stinky had more. As of 10 a.m. this morning, Stinky always has more. As of 10 a.m. this morning, Melissa has beaten Hurricane Milton last year in Miami in both wind speed and minimum pressure. Milton's max wind speed was 180 miles. This is, and its minimum pressure was 895 miles. Melissa is tied for third place with the 1935 Labor Day hurricane for the strongest hurricanes on record by pressure. Only 7 Atlantic hurricanes have had a minimum pressure that has reached below 900 millibars. On Sunday and Monday, Melissa was stalled 100 to 140 miles off the coast of Kingston, Jamaica, moving forward at around 3 to 5 miles. This was very unusual. Hurricanes usually move at around 10 to 15. Because of the way Melissa just stalled off the coast, Jamaica has been receiving massive amounts of rain and strong winds for the past 2 days before the storm even made landfall. Yesterday, one of the Hurricane Hunter aircrafts had to leave the storm early because of the conditions within the storm. Literally the first time I've ever heard of this. These aircrafts are literally made to withstand these conditions. Yeah, repost, sorry. No, it's fine. Yeah, we just covered that. Partially because, yeah, it's man-made, brother, is what people will say, I suspect. But all right, let's get to millions of Americans prepare to lose SNAP benefits as the shutdown continues. People are scared.
Federal employees is breaking with Democrats and pushing for an immediate deal
everybody say
to end
everybody say thank you, Stinky.
this government shutdown. Thousands of federal workers will not get their scheduled paychecks this week. The shutdown now may have an even bigger impact starting this Saturday. Caitlin Huey-Burns has that part of the story.
Aaron Annis is one of more than 40 million Americans who rely on federal food assistance.
We're just people that just need to eat and have some security in our lives. That's what it's about.
But due to the government shutdown, that help may soon run out. The USDA has declared that there will be no benefits issued beginning this Saturday, November 1st. For Annis, it's a daunting deadline. The Pennsylvania native never thought she'd need SNAP benefits, but 3 bouts of cancer and a double knee replacement left her unable to work.
Having those resources, what does it mean for your life?
Everything. It means everything to me.
What exactly do you think you're going to need to do?
I'll have to ask my children to help me.
And what is...
That's an awful feeling.
How so?
For them to have to help me.
Even in...
It's a little tough to think about sometimes.
She'll also turn to her local food pantry. Shyla Ulrich is CEO of the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank and is expecting demand to increase.
People are scared. It's a moment where people don't know and understand what's about to happen, whether or not they'll get those benefits, should the government open back up, or when.
And while lawmakers continue to point fingers,
the best way for SNAP benefits to be paid on time is for the Democrats to end their shutdown.
They shut the government down, then they left town, and now they're nowhere to be found.
Anna says she just wants politicians to talk to each other and find a solution.
This should not be a political issue. This should be a human privilege to be fed.
Now, the USDA announced that it cannot legally tap into a contingency fund to help pay.
Bullshit. That's bullshit. The notion that the USDA cannot legally tap into its contingency fund is a legal hurdle that the Trump administration itself put on the contingency fund. It's a fucking contingency fund. What are you talking about? That's literally why it fucking exists. States are now going to sue the federal government, by the way, to ensure that this doesn't happen.
For SNAP benefits, saying that that's reserved for natural disasters. But there is a Republican proposal here in the Senate to pay for those benefits. But Nate, it's unclear whether or when that would get a vote.
Yeah, and we will stay tuned. Caitlin, thank you.
This morning, day 28 of the government shutdown with no end in sight, and the U.S. now careening toward a hunger crisis. 48 states now warning if the shutdown continues by the end of the week, they'll be forced to stop distributing SNAP food assistance, a lifeline for some 42 million low-income Americans. Simone Wilkes, a single mom of 2 young boys in Michigan, telling me she's worried about what that means for her family.
I'm already struggling. I'm already stretching food.
Will there be some days where they will eat and you won't?
Yes, it already has started. It already has started. It has been days where the kids will eat and I'll just survive off water.
Food banks across the country now seeing a surge of demand. In Washington, D.C., we met unpaid federal workers standing in line at this makeshift kitchen for a free meal.
You never thought you'd have to budget for food like this?
No, not with what is supposed to be a secured income with the federal government.
Food pantries even popping up at airports across the country to help struggling TSA agents and air traffic controllers forced to work without pay. And this morning, nearly 11...
Richest country on earth, by the way. Bread lines in the richest country on earth, by the way. And unlike the bread lines in the USSR, it's not even the government that is providing this. It's just regular folks that are digging into their own wallets to help others. Okay? So remember that. Because bread lines, the way that they are presented, is a failure of the system. And yet it was the system itself trying to make sure that people kept, getting food. We, in this country, have not only necessitated bread lines, but we also don't even fucking offer it by the government. We're giving away the responsibility to those who are individual donors. Keep the shutdown. I'm enjoying watching half the left make fools of themselves. Interesting. Are you a billionaire or a multimillionaire perchance? Because if you're not, and I say this as someone who is a very loud critic of the Democratic Party, if you're not a billionaire or millionaire and you're celebrating this shutdown without recognizing why it's happening, let me explain it to you, okay? No, not even the fucking CEO of Walmart enjoys the shutdown, chatter. The CEO of Walmart is even suffering in the shutdown if their goal is to... the CEO of Walmart is not suffering like the average people are, but the CEO of Walmart takes a hit on this too. What do you think happens when most of the Walmart workers rely on SNAP benefits to purchase food at Walmart? It cooks the CEO of Walmart too, or at least the profit margins of Walmart too. Not to say that we should pity Walmart. I'm not talking about that. But yeah, it's like a chunk of their sales come directly from SNAP. But the reason why this shutdown is continuing is because Republicans do not want to offer ACA subsidies so that the states where people need additional help from the federal government to literally subsidize their already incredibly costly healthcare premiums don't get it. That's the only reason why they are refusing. That's the only reason. They are dangling the starvation of 40 million Americans as a counter to the healthcare, like millions, tens of millions of Americans losing their fucking healthcare. That is the weird Sophie's choice that the Republicans have presented. It's fucking insane.
1,000 air traffic controllers like Peter Lefevre missing their first full paycheck. Pay stubs like this one obtained by ABC News showing $0.
The prospect of going another pay period without pay is weighing on the minds of myself and all the people that I work with.
Here on Capitol Hill, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley has introduced a bill to fund SNAP even during the shutdown, but Senate Republican leaders don't appear sold on giving it a vote, instead calling on Democrats to vote to reopen the government. And Democrats have said first they want Republicans to negotiate with them on preventing insurance premiums for skyrocketing for some 20 million Americans on the Affordable Care Act. George.
Jay O'Brien, thanks.
Now to Amazon, planning to cut thousands of...
It's so insane that is what the dynamic is right now. Let's get back to more fresh hell in America. Amazon to lay off thousands of corporate workers.
Corporate workers. Our chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis, joins us with the details on that. Good morning, Rebecca.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. It's nice to see you guys. And these are deep, deep cuts. Amazon is planning to cut 14,000 corporate jobs starting this week. It is one of the largest rounds of layoffs in the company's history. Why would Amazon be doing this right now ahead of the holidays while the company seems to be doing well? Well, in a note to employees this morning, they say the world is changing quickly. This generation of AI is the most transformative technology.
That's a disgusting way to describe the treatment of the Uyghurs as if it's peaceful. No, that's not what I said. I've actually never said that. I think you misunderstood what I was saying. In comparison to what Israel has done to the Palestinians, it is not a comparison. But Americans, okay, I think I need to stop. I think I need to stop doing commentary in general. Maybe the TikTokers were right. Because it's virtually impossible for me to do this when it's just a weird way to frame it. Is it a weird way to frame it because it hurts your feelings? Is that why it's a weird way to frame it? Kaya, I get... Oh my God. Kaya, no. Why do you always tangle your... Get out of there. Get out of there. That's crazy. She literally will go and lay on top of the microphone and like tangle herself in the microphone cable. I don't know why. It's her favorite fucking thing to do. It does not hurt my feelings. Look, I know as much about the issue as the Last Week Tonight video, and that nearly made me cry. Oh my God. Okay, then shut the fuck up. I've covered this extensively. You can go watch my other videos, okay?
We have seen since the internet, and that's really echoing what CEO Andy Jassy started signaling this summer when he said generative AI could mean fewer workers. And Amazon isn't alone here making these changes in the midst of a major AI transformation. Target announced last week that it will be eliminating about 1,800 roles. Other tech giants like Microsoft, Meta, Google and Intel have also made cuts this year. And this is important to follow because tech companies are a bellwether for the broader economy. They can be. And right now, hiring is slowing for the first time since the pandemic. There are more unemployed workers than jobs available, although overall unemployment is still historically low at 4.3%. And we've been talking about this AI transformation that we are seeing right now. Some have likened it to the Industrial Revolution, but the Industrial Revolution took place over many, many years. This is going so fast. So while AI will create jobs, they might be created slower than some of this job destruction we're seeing. And it's really something to follow.
Insane.
President Trump is in Japan this morning as part of a high-stakes trip to Asia. He met with that country's new prime minister, who had plenty of praise for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump, plenty of praise for her. It was mutual, but they did not announce any new trade deals. The two leaders also appeared at one point before U.S. troops at a naval base, all of this happening against a backdrop
So they're just firing their own workers, giving it to the AI, and then hiring people to fix the mistakes of the AI? Yes.
of military and trade tensions with China. Nancy Cordes has a new stamp in her passport. She's in Tokyo for us. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Tony. Yeah, and a lot of what the president is doing here in Japan is designed to project strength in advance of his meeting with China's president later this week. And so he announced that Japan would be receiving a new shipment of missiles for F-35s within the week, and he touted new economic partnerships with Japan, too.
In her diplomatic debut as prime minister, Sanae Takaichi heaped praise on President Trump and vowed to make new investments in the U.S. By the time they toured a U.S. aircraft carrier south of Tokyo, the two were fast friends.
The first female prime minister in the history of Japan.
Woke. He's so woke. He's woke. He's woke as hell. The first female. Yeah, Japan will buy the F-35s. They will get more missiles. They must build their military. Japan's new Minister of Finance may have read Noah Smith's Weeb economy book. She tweeted an endorsement of it back in April when he was visiting Tokyo and met her. Oh no, providing advice about the tariff situation. Oh no. Oh, Japan has fallen. Japan has fallen. It was already fallen, but it's going to fall even further. That's right.
Prime Minister. They signed an agreement to work together to extract critical rare earth minerals, key components in everything from cars to fighter jets.
We are an ally at the strongest level.
It's the third such agreement Trump has signed since China threatened to restrict access to its own rare earths. And China processes more than 90% of the world's supply.
I think that
good luck to Donald Trump, and good luck to America in gearing up their own rare earth processing facilities in a short enough timeline to instead of just like playing ball with China and being normal about global trade. Donald Trump is like, nope, nope. We're going to go around and we're going to find new places to do this, new facilities.
Chinese have withheld it because they're in a poker game with the United States.
Nicholas Burns was U.S. ambassador to China under President Biden. He says the world is watching to see if Trump and China's President Xi Jinping can diffuse 6 months of trade tension.
What's the impact for American consumers?
Again, trade tension that Trump caused, trade tension that single-handedly was started by Trump. We are so many news cycles removed from this, and it's just like, we have to remember, he broke this, okay? He broke this single-handedly, okay? Trump did this. I hope people don't forget that Trump did this. He is the one who did this, okay? He did it, and it makes no sense for him to do so, and there is no alternative, especially at the domestic front, and instead he's relying on a sequence of other vassal states in the region, some of which are very close in trade relations with China. Okay, that's also something to remember here. Like very close in both proximity and trade relations to China, to decouple everyone around China and America from China, the manufacturing hub of the planet. And also our most consequential trade partner, like 30% of all of our manufacturing comes from China. And Donald Trump doesn't want that to happen anymore, because he wants to go to war with China. But it's pretty funny that like this patchwork of rare earth mineral extraction and processing only is happening because he is trying to posture against China and decided to fuck the board up. Our own design on global trade.
Consumers, if President Trump and President Xi don't strike a trade deal.
Well, continued high tariffs would really be consequential for the global economy. It would grind to a halt.
If China's 30%, what are the other? Mexico and Canada.
Most of the trade between China and the U.S.
Chinese officials say they reached a, quote, preliminary.
Where the fuck do you get this idea that he wants to go to war with China? You just be saying too much sometimes. First of all, it's not just Donald Trump. This is the position. Hello? Which fucking American leader has postured towards having more amicable relations with China? Even if you were to say, no, not just trade war, man. What the fuck? No, not just trade war. You're talking about the American government that openly stated that they're spending $1 billion+ in creating networks of anti-China propaganda around the globe. No, not just trade war. The trade war comes first. If you can try and successfully decouple yourself from your over-reliance on China for manufacturing, which, again, who knows how that will work, or who knows how many years in the future that will actually be a success. But if that's what you're posturing towards, the reason why you're doing that is so that you can engage in some kind of Cold War directly with China. And it's not exactly a hidden thing. Our politicians, both on the Democratic Party side and on the Republican Party side, actively say that this is what they want to do. America presents China as the greatest adversary. The major difference between the USSR and America during the Cold War versus China and America right now is trade. The USSR did not have such a complex trade relation with the United States of America. That is also the reason why we're giving missiles to Japan, a country whose constitution we wrote after World War II, that is not supposed to even have a standing military. The American military is the Japanese military. The Japanese have a Japanese self-defense force, which is not really like a full-blown military, okay? But the reason why America is setting up missile bases in and around that region is so that those missile bases can directly put the crosshairs on both China and North Korea as well. And yes, this posture started under the Obama administration. Yes, which is ironic because they always say Obama went on an apology tour in Asia. This is likely the American plan: decouple trade with China. Then once the money is saved, they try to bait China into taking Taiwan, probably by declaring Taiwanese independence, and use that as an excuse to our allies to invade China or at least sanction them or go to war in the full Cold War. Yeah, I don't know about full invasion of the Chinese mainland. The entire point of the Vietnam War, the support of the KMT, the Korean War were all about China containment policy. Why the hell do chatters not think the U.S. wouldn't gladly fight China? Yeah, the only reason why the U.S. can't currently fight China is because China controls all the fucking rare earth minerals. That's it. And not only that, but also is responsible for 30% of all American trade. This is a terrifying prospect for future generations because they are actively trying to decouple trade from China so that it's at least a little bit easier to engage in Cold War. Maybe not hot war, but at least Cold War against China. Also, China is a nuclear superpower, so you can't really directly go to war with China like that.
Consensus with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in talks over the weekend. Trump and Xi are set to sit down in South Korea on Thursday.
I think we're going to have a successful transaction for both countries.
Trump is wrapping up here in Japan and then heads to South Korea, but he told reporters he'd be open to extending his trip if there was a chance that he could meet with North Korea's reclusive dictator Kim Jong-un. Now, there's no confirmation that that's going to happen, but it was a surprise the last time the two met back in 2019. Gail?
All right.
What is this? New internet celebrities like Jake Paul and Mr. Beast are paying armies of clippers to saturate social media clips with clips of their videos. This is the story behind Anthony Fujiwara, 23, the secretive mastermind behind celebrities' clipping campaigns. Oh, shit. There's the clippers, especially on Twitter, the steak-adjacent clippers are under a little bit of hot water right now. Gaza update, please. I gave it earlier in the morning. You can rewind if you would like to by subscribing to the HasanAbi broadcast. That's right. If you subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service for $6 or for free with the Twitch Prime, you can actually rewind the broadcast to go and see my coverage over Israel actively violating the Gaza ceasefire deal. Anyway, you have to subscribe to rewind. It's not my call. It's a Twitch platform decision. Yeah, there's two different things that are going on, and but it's somehow related to the Clipper stuff too. Mr. Beast employs over 1,000 clippers who create short versions of his videos and share them on social media to steer audiences to his YouTube channel. Clipping, a marketing service, pays independent editors $50 for every 100,000 views that snippets of YouTube shows get on social media apps, and also charges clients a subscription fee. The company, founded by 23-year-old Anthony Fujiwara, has generated about $7.7 million in sales so far this year and works with clients including YouTube personalities, record labels, and podcasts to boost their social media profiles. It's hard to imagine that Mr. Beast, the most popular YouTuber, needs help getting and keeping fans. But behind the scenes, Jimmy Donaldson employs the equivalent of a vast call center, more than 1,000 clippers who push short versions of his stunt and challenge videos in front of online audiences and steer them to his YouTube channel, which boasts 448 million subscribers. You should do the same and promote socialism. Yeah, what do you think the HasanAbi Clips industrial complex is? That's literally what it is. But behind the scenes, Jimmy employs the equivalent of a vast call center. For a recent campaign, Donaldson's team paid independent editors employed by a startup called Clipping $50 for every 100,000 views that snippets of his YouTube shows got on social media apps, according to a post on Discord, the chat app where the company does business. These contractors identify a viral moment, embellish it with a funny slogan, and feed it into services like TikTok and Instagram. People used to buy commercials on TV, billboards, radio time slots, said Anthony Fujiwara, the 23-year-old founder of Clipping, a marketing service that he named after his new social media marketing technique. Clipping is that for the modern era. It's buying space and time on people's phones while they scroll. The emergence of clipping shows, people spend that much money on Hasan hate clips? Yes. The emergence of, but you don't pay them directly? I don't. People do it on their own volition. And not only do people do it on their own volition, but people also do, people also monetize it as well on their own. That's how the HasanAbi Clips industrial complex works. They're calling it the Wemby or the Zoran rally. Anyway, let's continue. Clipping, the company that also had a Republican ad campaign earlier this year, focused on ads against Zoran Mamdani. My sources is that I was lurking their discords. Wait, really? In one YouTube Shorts clip posted by an account called Reels Official, Mr. Beast prompts comedian Andrew Desbordes, or Drewski, to dunk a basketball. Under the clip, a character from Amazon Inc. King of Meat video game, one of Donaldson's sponsors jumps over obstacles. It's a requirement detailed in the clipping campaign instructions on Discord. The text reads, "No way, Mr. Beast got Drewski dunking on a 11.5 meter hoop." Fujiwara declined to comment on his business with Mr. Beast, who has launched his own clipping operation called Viro. Clipping doles out $300 to $1,500 for every 1 million views a clip gets across all the apps, according to data on Discord. On top of that, clients pay the company for a subscription fee of $2,500 to $10,000 a month, and sometimes more, according to Fujiwara. Behind the company sits a stable of 23,000 clippers, contract editors who create short-form versions of celebrities' longer content on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch. One clipper, Faisal Ali, who's 23 and based in Pakistan, said he earned $600 making clips for Donaldson. He even hired 2 subcontractors who edit the videos and receive the percentage of his payout. The key to having clips find their way into consumers' data feeds is to identify a hook for the first 1 to 2 seconds of a video. Think of it like fishing, he said. Fujiwara started editing YouTube videos in 2018 when he was a 16-year-old attending high school in Los Angeles. His parents, who emigrated from the U.S. to Japan and Costa Rica, pushed him to make money from a young age. YouTubers whose clips Fujiwara edited went from 0 followers to 100,000 in a month, he recalls. Celebrity gamers took note, and soon Fujiwara was receiving inquiries from popular Fortnite players. Not a gamer himself, he applied what he knew about popular soccer videos to clips of video gamers killing their opponents. During the pandemic, Fujiwara began studying strategies for going viral, popularized by self-described misogynist influencer Andrew Tate and his controversial Hustlers University School for teaching money-making skills. In a conversation with gamer influencer Aiden Ross, Fujiwara recalled discussing Tate's strategies and the potential for short-form video marketing. So far this year, clipping has generated about $7.7 million in sales, much of it in crypto. Oh my God. Clients, including the managers of YouTube personalities, record labels, and podcasts, are allocating growing pots of money, in some cases more than $10,000 a month for contracted clippers. United Talent Agency, based in Beverly Hills, works with clipping to boost clients' social media profiles and funnel potential fans from short-form video apps onto YouTube, Spotify, or Twitch, where there's money to be made. One recent campaign for Ross reaped 430 million views across 11,000 videos created by 520 clippers, according to the company's social media account. Ross's representatives didn't respond to requests for comment. Clipping is a way to promote your artist through an organic UGC user-generated format, said Dante Smith. Smith came across clipping in March through word of mouth. When he wants one of his artist's songs to go viral, he and a team of digital marketers study what the subculture to target, such as fashion, sports, or reality television. Then they suggest clippers to pair the song with the video genre. For Bodies, the lead single on Offset's album Kiari, they chose wrestling and anime clips, according to Smith. Everyone from internet celebrities like Ross to Jake Paul to hip-hop artists like Ice Spice and Offset have benefited from clipping service, according to the company's social media. If it's real people getting paid and not bots, it isn't the worst thing, right? No, it's not. It's just a way to astroturf. It's just a marketing tool. That's what it is. It's just a way to fucking farm out slop. But yeah, Fujiwara still edits videos, including for top YouTuber Darren Jason Watkins, known as iShowSpeed. For others, though, he outsourced clipping to his contractors. This year, he incorporated the company. If we wanted to pay taxes and be legal, or for someone to come in and invest, we need proper books, Fujiwara said. So far, he's batted off interest from people who want partial ownership of his company. I took a bunch of meetings with management companies based in LA, heard their advice, and then just did it all myself. Smith, the Capital Workers executive, said that in 2026, he'll try and run clipping campaigns for back catalog music, as well as new singles. He credits Fujiwara with building an infrastructure for how things are moving in the digital space today with the fluidity to adapt. So, but they're not marked as sponsored posts or anything? No, but they don't need to be if they're not marketing anything. I'm also surprised that this is not being handled by bots in general. But this is literally how the stake stuff operates as well. You get a bunch of people, some of which are in like India and Bangladesh, and then others who are in America even, right? To take this exact same service and slap on a stake logo on it off of whoever the fuck's content they want to. It's presented as a news aggregation service. A lot of the Twitter impression farmers do this, and they've been underwater recently. According to Kirko, Drake, Aiden Ross, and Stake are facing a class action lawsuit in Missouri federal court for promoting illegal online gambling. The reason why I'm talking about this is this doesn't have anything to do with the Clippers necessarily, but these are the guys who also use those same services, including Aiden Ross. Filed on October 27th, the suit claims that Drake and Aiden misled fans by appearing to gamble their own money while allegedly using funds provided by Stake, promoting the platform to millions, including young fans in Missouri where the online casino gambling is banned. The suit seeks to hold Drake and Ross liable for class members' gambling losses. I don't think this will work, for the record. I don't know how any of this works, but I don't see something like this working, especially considering that Stake is immensely powerful and immensely wealthy. And it's also, Drake, I'm sure, has the best legal team. So I don't know if this will, actually work, but I will say There's also a Telegram channel set up with hundreds, if not thousands of people that have a lead that gives you a link with a social post to interact with. You do XYZ amounts and they pay you in crypto as well. This is how we end up with a bunch of boosted fake artists with millions of clicks and streams with no real fan base. You sure? Look at what happened at the Super Bowl last year. Do you think people pay for negative clips a year, or do you just live rent-free in their heads? I mean, I have no evidence. I have no evidence beyond the fact that like a lot of those Stake-sponsored clippers are directed by Stake. And not only that, but also, yes, they do despise me. Stake does. I mean,
out to the laptop. Just do no. Come.
They used to do these kinds of broadcasted talks, and back in the day, whenever they used to do it, they would openly talk about their disdain for someone such as myself. So I don't think it's an accident that all of those impression farmers on Twitter that we later found out were being sponsored by Stake directly, which is the crypto gambling casino that is the financial engine driving Kick and the financial engine driving all of those boosted accounts, were actively at the heart of all of the controversy that I find myself in, no matter what. I mean, they were literally posting about Kaya. They hate the Twitch CEO and they hate me. And they regularly will post, like those accounts will regularly post about how awful I am all the time. And they haven't stopped really. Since Stake got kicked off of Twitch, they have not stopped. Yeah, this was the Rock Nation lawsuit that alleges Stake uses bots and Kick Clips campaign for defamation. Let's see if I can. Yeah. Private investigator claims Rock Nation is suing Kick for spreading fake rumors and Drake for using bots. A private investigation claimed that Drake inflates music streaming numbers. She also said that Stake and Kick pay creators to do slander against certain people. Aiden Ross has sided with Tory Lanez in his court case with Megan Thee Stallion. Now, this is ironically another one of those like fucking Clipper accounts, so I don't know if I can even trust them. But during his Wednesday stream, Aiden Ross revealed claims from private investigator the Jay-Z-owned entertainment firm Rock Nation is suing Drake and Kick. The streamer explained that the New York-based company believes that Drake uses bots to increase music streaming numbers and that Kick pays creators to slander people. A private investigator who was supposedly hired by Rock Nation spoke to an employee of DJ Academics. She said she was 100% sure that Drake artificially inflates his music listens. Drake himself alleged in November 2024 that Kendrick Lamar's record label, Universal Music Group, and Spotify manipulated streaming numbers for Not Like Us. Spotify has since denied this ever happened. The investigator also claimed Kick and the Stake online gambling site are paying content creators to spread fake rumors about Rock Nation artists like Megan Thee Stallion. Only last month, Aiden Ross revealed that Megan Thee Stallion and Rock Nation's legal team served him legal papers. A mariachi band played outside his house to attract his attention so they could hand him a deposition for a defamation case. He believes this relates to the fallout of the Tory Lanez trial, where Ross backed the rapper's version of events and said that Megan Thee Stallion had lied. Lanez is currently serving 10 years in prison for shooting her in the feet. But now, there's also this other thing. In the lawsuit, plaintiff Justin Killam says he lost money on Stake.us as a result of defendant's wrongful trade practice accusing Stake of disguising itself as a social casino that does not offer real gambling as a ploy to evade state laws that prohibit online gambling. Stake, co-founded by billionaires Ed Craven and Bijan Tehrani in 2017, operates as an online gambling website, Stake.com, as well as a separate website for US-based users, Stake.us, that it calls a social casino on which users play games using digital coins. Killam's lawsuit accuses Stake of bypassing gambling laws on Stake.us by bundling user purchase of gold coins, which have no real world value, with a bonus of Stake Cash, which can be gambled and then cashed in for cryptocurrency, which the suit says is a clear vehicle for real money gambling. The suit accuses Drake and Ross, both of whom have partnerships with Stake, of targeting teenagers with their marketing of their platform and gambling using house money. Stake provides them, so as any losses they might share on social media are part of a marketing tactic designed to draw attention. Drake, who has 142 million followers on Instagram, has already made 2 posts this week advertising Stake, including one video purporting to show him with a balance of $1 million in his Stake account. Forbes has reached out to Stake representatives for Drake and Ross for comment. Stake garnered attention earlier this year for an apparent advertising push that involved X accounts posting memes and other content with a small Stake logo at the bottom, though it's unclear whether Stake was behind these posts or paid creators to add the Stake logo to their content. In response to one of the viral posts of an adult film actress that included the Stake logo, the United Kingdom's Gambling Commission launched an investigation into the platform. In February, the commission said gambling company DGB Europe Limited, which partnered with Stake for its United Kingdom operations, would shut down the Stake platform in the country. Ed Craven and Bijan Tehrani are both worth $2.8 billion, according to Forbes estimates. Stake.com generated $4.7 billion in revenue in 2024, Forbes previously reported. Craven and Tehrani are also founders of Kick, a live streaming platform they launched as a rival to Twitch. Have you noticed an increase in hate since the anti-gambling saga from years ago? Yes. Yes. Non-stop. And there's really, of course. What, you think it's a fucking accident that every single kick streamer has launched their own personal hate campaign against me at one point, including people who I've never heard of, people who I've never interacted with, or including people that I have literally opened my home to? Yes. That was the OG. It was like me and Pokey, down to the singular incident that destroyed the poggers community as we know it, or as people call it. Anyway, it's just, he is so, I mean, the dudes that own that website are just, they're running a money printing operation. There's nothing you can do about it. They are incredibly wealthy. So we just give up or what? I mean, I don't. It's just something that I have to think about all the time. It is what it is. I was beginning to Twitch up until the offline TV days back when I had a League of Legends addiction. Hasan, you're a terrorist. See, the impact of those hate campaigns remain in this chat. People who get fucking manipulated by out of context clips that are all over the internet that come in here to be like, dude, that come in here and they follow for an extended period of time just so they can write that and then get subsequently banned. Go throw a bomb at tanks. Like, that person is not paid to do this. He's just doing it for free 99. Go give kids bombs to transport. See? That's probably like a 13-year-old if we're being real. It's so funny to say go throw a bomb at tanks. Like, what is a tank doing? The purpose of a tank is to bomb people's houses. But yeah, either a child or an adult with a child brain, but probably a child. Most likely a child. Don't you have homework to catch up on, chatter? Don't you? I really don't understand the point of that parasocial hate. Do people get dopamine out of it? Yes. They feel like they get a sense of community from this kind of thing. Yeah. Mamdani at 46%, Cuomo at 31%. Mamdani at 47, Sliwa at 33 for the Manhattan Institute. That's from 2 days ago. It's not a... If the American culture is more right-wing pilled than you say, suck tense to think it is, to someone with more reactionary opinions, you probably look like a terrorist, like how cats are scared of cucumbers because they think they're snakes. It just doesn't take much for someone... Oh shit, they got site-wide banned. Sorry, chatter. You got cooked. Shit. RIP to that chatter's account. Trump posted this? What the fuck? Wait. The fact that he has a cross over the Star of David, like the Israeli flag pin, unironically serves the opposite purpose though for people in his fan base, right? I mean, this is straight up a hate crime that the president is posting. This is an account that auto posts Trump's Truth Social posts. At least it's real and not AI. I agree. True.
Both sides are bad. Democrats, Republicans, they all suck.
Oh, wow, Morty, you've achieved political enlightenment by saying absolutely nothing. Stand on something, you coward. Yeah, both parties suck, but not in the same way. Democrats suck because they won't fight. Republicans suck because they love oppression. One's weak, the other's evil.
But aren't Democrats radical leftists, Rick?
Ha! Democrats aren't left-wing, Morty. They're the
This is the only AI slop that I allow.
center right wing of a capitalist bird. The left actually believes everyone deserves to live comfortably. Food, housing, healthcare, free time, basic human stuff. Democrats just try to manage capitalism with fewer bodies in the street, while the right wing's out here making sure the rich stay rich and everyone else learns to suffer politely.
So what's the difference then?
Ideology, Morty. The left wants a system built around people's needs, not profit margins. The right thinks comfort should be earned through endless labor. That's why conservatives brag about cutting SNAP benefits from 42 million people. They don't see starving families, they see lazy freeloaders. And the Democrats, they issue a strongly worded tweet and call it progress.
But Rick, isn't being a centrist just trying to be reasonable?
Reasonable? Morty, centrists have been reasonably wrong for centuries. During slavery, they said, well, it's bad, but ending it would hurt the economy. During women's suffrage, they said, let's not go too fast. Society's not ready. Every generation's got that crowd pretending moderation is morality, when really it's cowardice in a suit. There's nothing more spineless than a centrist stand on something. Follow for more.
This is the only type of AI slop that I agree with. I spam these to my Gen Alpha siblings. I spam send these. Nice. There's even crazier versions of this too. Put Trump on the mic. Anyway, I'm tired, and that's all I got for today. But I'll try to do some spooky gaming tomorrow. Okay.
Hey. Introduction starting.
But for the day, I am done.
All the chatter's trickling in.
I love you all. I'm so fucking tired. I don't know why I got hit like a brick wall. Peace, everybody. Bye-bye.
Stun lock to the stun lock to the topic that's just begun. There he is again. The sun is streaming. The sun is streaming. There he is again. The sun is streaming. The sun is streaming. Reviewing the P.O. box. Uncle Euchre's face. Sudden discord agitprop. Gray names take on race. Tiny Bernie Sanders, LGBTQ Air Force. The whole left at your fingertips. And Kanye out your door. The H3 Crowder debate. The Young Turks online show. 3 full fucking years of this. And plenty more to go. 90-day fiance talks of champagne bourgeoisie. A Trump rally live reaction, a mass riot in DC. There he is again. The sun is streaming. The sun is streaming. There he is again. The sun is streaming. The sun is streaming. Reading live stream fail comments, Austin show chat advice. In all the ways the right-wing pipeline can suck you in online. JCS react Lord frame gets broken, cover blown. A full-blown mass pandemic, months of streaming in your home. Total radicalization coming out to find. The system you were taught to trust in was broken the whole time. All these daily streams, whether big or whether small, have helped me and so many find some meaning through it all. So there he is again. The sun is streaming. The sun is streaming. There he is again. The sun is streaming. The sun is streaming. Hey, what can you say? The 3-minute ad is through, but he'll play no pics so soon. You wait. Say, hey, what can you say? Hey, the 3-minute ad is through, but he'll watch 90 Days soon. Just you wait. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, what can you say? The 3-minute ad is through, but he'll debate viewers soon. You wait. Sha-da-da, sha-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, what can you say?